Chapter 71 Mission completed. New quests. More than an hour later, on the outskirts of Fish Spring Town. Have the soldiers stand guard here for the time being until Wuxia, you and I return. If they encounter an enemy, you can get the soldiers defend themselves and counterattack. Zhou Zhou said. Wuxia had caught up not long after they set off. She said that she wanted to see her teacher. Zhou Zhou felt that it would be beneficial to complete the master-disciple reunion quest with Wuxia around, so he agreed to let her follow him. Yes, my lord. Bai Yi said respectfully. Then, she went to pass down the order. A moment later. Zhou Zhou, Bai Yi, and Wuxia left the soldiers and walked towards Fish Spring Town. As for Nazario, it was currently flying above them. This way, it was not easily discovered by others and could fly down at any time to protect them. Boxen OVL. A moment later, the three of them arrived at the city gate of Fish Spring Town. It was built entirely of white stones, and the words, Fish Spring Town, were engraved on the top of the city gate. They had just approached the city gate when a line of text suddenly appeared in front of him. Notification: you have officially come into contact with the local forces of the High Continent. Reward: common language of the High Continent, general knowledge of the High Continent's language, basic knowledge of the High Continent. A large amount of knowledge surged into Zhou Zhou's mind. An ordinary person might have fainted. Fortunately, his current mental strength far exceeded that of ordinary people, so he only frowned slightly and received this knowledge. I've mastered the common language of the High Continent. Not bad. Initially, I wanted to communicate with the locals through Bai Yi. Now, there's no need to go through so much trouble. Zhou Zhou thought to himself. Then he suddenly thought of something and looked at Bai Yi and the others. Oh yes, I forgot to ask you something. How do you know the Cerulean planet language? Zhou Zhou asked doubtfully. When we met the Lord, we were automatically given the ability to communicate with the Lord by the Supreme Will. Bai Yi said. Zhou Zhou came to a realization. It seemed that the Supreme Will did not want to stop the communication between the lords of the myriad races and the local factions in terms of language. It directly gave the two sides the ability to communicate freely. Then, the three of them prepared to enter the town. There might be soldiers guarding the city gate, but they only glanced at Zhou Zhou and the rest and let them in without saying anything. On the street in the city. As Zhou Zhou and the others walked towards the administrative hall, they looked at the pedestrians on the road. Among these pedestrians, naturally humans who looked exactly like them were in the majority. However, there were also many strange-looking races. For example, a race that was 2 to 3 meters tall and had 3 eyes on their heads. There were also kittens with long tails and trembling cat ears. There were even palm-sized flower fairies with transparent wings flying. The various races dazzled Zhou Zhou and broadened his horizons. On the other hand, Bai Yi and Wuxia, who were beside him, looked unsurprised. A moment later. The three of them came to the door of the administrative hall. After telling the guard at the door that he had a letter from the former Prime Minister, Zheng Yuanqi, to give to their mayor, the guard went to report it immediately even though he suspected that Zhou Zhou was bragging. The guard returned and led the three of them to a reception room in the administrative hall in a jiffy. A well-dressed middle-aged man was already waiting there. When he saw Zhou Zhou and the rest, he immediately stood up. Hi, I'm the mayor of Fish Spring Town, Zhang Bowen. I heard you have a letter for me from my teacher. Zhang Bowen looked at Zhou Zhou and the rest. Zhou Zhou looked at Bai Yi. Bai Yi passed the letter to Zhang Bowen. Zhang Bowen was certain that this was definitely the work of his teacher by just glancing at the handwriting on the envelope. Mayor Zhang, why don't you open it now? Elder Zheng has something to tell you. Zhou Zhou said. Zhang Bowen was stunned for a moment before nodding thoughtfully. He opened the envelope, took out the letters inside, and began to read. He finished reading it in no time. Then, Zhang Bowen could not help but look at Zhou Zhou in shock. Are you the Lord of the Blazing Sun who became famous recently? Teacher actually went to work for you. He subconsciously became more polite. This was a fierce person who had taken down a regional territory from nothing in just 6 days. He was not the only one who heard about it. The Lord of the Blazing Sun was quite famous even in the entire Aurora Kingdom. That's me. Zhou Zhou's expression remained the same, but he was a little surprised inwardly. He did not expect his reputation to be so great now. The reputation brought about by the 4 points of reputation rating was not just for show. I've heard a lot about you. Welcome to Fish Spring Town. Zhang Bowen smiled. I've wanted to come here for a long time. Zhou Zhou smiled. Then, the two of them chatted about some topics. Zhou Zhou mainly wanted to ask the Conqueror's blast furnace and how to increase the population of the territory. Zhang Bowen mainly asked about Zheng Yuanqi's current situation and was curious about Blazing Sun City's current development. After a long time, the two of them, who had benefited a lot, had already become familiar with each other. After that, Zhang Bowen got someone to send the Aurora crystals over. Even though I'm the mayor of Fish Spring Town, but Aurora crystals are the kingdom's strategic resources. I can't mobilize much of them. I hope these 50 green bronze tier Aurora crystals can temporarily satisfy the Lord of the Blazing Sun's needs. Zhang Bowen pointed at the tray of 50 white Aurora crystals and apologized. Enough. That's more than enough. Zhou Zhou took them with a smile. He was pleasantly surprised. His goal for this trip was only 10 Aurora crystals. However, he did not expect the mayor of Fish Spring Town to actually give him 50 Aurora crystals generously. This person was good. He could get along with him. A line of text appeared just as he received the 50 green bronze tier Aurora crystals. Notification. Detailed quest, collection of Aurora crystals has been completed. 1 green bronze tier advanced grade completed Aurora Tower and 50 green bronze tier mist cores have been distributed. Zhao Chengxi's loyalty has increased to 90 points. A smile appeared on Zhou Zhou's face. He pondered for a moment and suddenly said, how about I help you guys get rid of your Scarlet Lords during this period of time? Can you do that? None of the Scarlet Lords here are weaker than the regional Scarlet Lords in the Blazing Sun Desert. Zhang Bowen was shocked. We can give it a try. Zhou Zhou smiled. He already had the idea of dealing with the 3 Scarlet Lords. It was the perfect time to return the favor. Thank you, Lord of the Blazing Sun. I'll definitely seek credit from the kingdom for you after you've successfully dealt with the 3 Scarlet Lords. Zhang Bowen didn't really believe it in his heart, however, since Zhou Zhou had already said so, it was not appropriate for him to say anything else. At the same time, just as Zhang Bowen finished speaking, a quest interface also appeared in front of Zhou Zhou. The mayor of Fish Spring Town has issued a quest to you. Quest name, eliminate the Scarlet Lords. Quest quality, yellow gold tier elementary grade, normal. Quest content, destroy the Scarlet Lord's forces near Fish Spring Town and bring peace to the town. Mission reward, 300 yellow gold tier mist cores, 200 Fish Spring Town subjects submitting to you, 10 yellow gold tier Aurora crystals. Your reputation in the Aurora Kingdom will improve, the Aurora Kingdom's king will have a favorable impression of you, and the authority to trade Aurora crystals will be activated. Zhou Zhou immediately felt comfortable when he saw the quest. One job that had 3 income streams. This was a huge profit. Chapter 72 Zhang Li's request. Heading to the Lord's Market. Zhou Zhou and Zhang Ben chatted for a while more before leaving. Zhang Bowen looked in the direction where they left and couldn't help but exclaim. A hero. That female attendant is definitely a hero. He's only been in our high continent for 6 days, but he's already developed to this extent. No wonder this Lord of the Blazing Sun could take down a regional territory. Impressive. Teacher, the ministers in the palace all say that you've aged and decayed. You retired because you weren't capable enough to be the prime minister. They're all wrong. You're still as wise as ever. I have to be on good terms with this lord in the future. Zhang Bowen thought for a moment and turned to leave. After a while, Zhou Zhou followed the map and arrived in front of the New Wind tailor shop. Boxen OVL. Teacher. I'm here. Bao Xiu'er rushed into the shop excitedly when they reached the entrance of the shop. Zhou Zhou and Bai Yi looked at each other and smiled before entering. Zhou Zhou saw Bao Xiu'er hugging a young woman in beautiful clothes as soon as he entered. This young woman was already in her 30s, but she was beautiful, had fair skin, and a voluptuous figure. There seemed to be light in her eyes, and she had the temperament of a virtuous wife. Zhou Zhou's eyes lit up. This is my lord. This is Big Sister Bai. My lord, Big Sister Bai, this is my teacher, Zhang Li. She's also the current head of New Wind Tailoring Skills. Bao Xiu'er immediately felt a little embarrassed when she saw her lord, so she introduced him. Greetings, my lord. My disciple has embarrassed herself in front of you, my lord. Zhang Li was a little embarrassed. No way, I can see that Bao Xiu'er and Big Sister Zhang have a good relationship. Zhou Zhou smiled. When Zhang Li heard this, the smile on her face widened. Then, she invited Zhou Zhou and the others to sit in the inner room. Zhou Zhou and the rest naturally wouldn't refuse and walked in one after another. They chatted for a while before Zhou Zhou brought up the purpose of their visit. Big Sister Zhang, I wonder if you're interested in developing in my territory? My territory has just been built, and I need talents. If you can come, you can definitely show your skills in our territory. And I can make you a promise. As long as you're willing to come to my territory, when there are enough resources in the future, I'm willing to build a white platinum tier elementary grade tailor shop for you in the territory. Your treatment will definitely not lose to the treatment you can have in other places. Zhou Zhou was very polite. She was a white platinum tier elementary grade talent after all. He would be a fool to snub her. Yes, teacher. Come to Blazing Sun City with me. The Lord is very powerful, and so is Big Sister Bai Yi. If you join the Lord's territory now, you will definitely not be disappointed in the future. Bao Xiu'er persuaded. This. You have a white platinum tier architect in your territory? Zhang Li looked at her disciple helplessly and asked. A white platinum tier tailor shop. Even she would be tempted. The honorary president of the construction association, Zhao Changshu, is living in my territory now. Zhou Zhou smiled. Zhang Li was stunned. She had heard of Zhao Changshu before. He was a true upper-class figure in the Aurora Kingdom. Even the Aurora King had personally received him. He was a true top-notch expert in the construction industry. He was actually in the territory of this young lord. Zhang Li did not believe him at first, but she hesitated when she saw Bao Xiu'er's sincere gaze. She naturally understood her own disciple. Her gaze told her that the lord in front of her should not be lying. After a moment of silence, Zhang Li shook her head. My apologies, my lord. I still can't go. Can you tell me the reason? Are you dissatisfied with my conditions? Or do you think that our territory has just been built, so you're unwilling to settle down there? Zhou Zhou pondered for a moment and asked. That's not the case. Please follow me. Zhang Li sighed softly. Then, she stood up and walked towards another house. The three of them were stunned. Then, they followed. Soon. They came to another room. As soon as the three of them entered the room, they smelled a strong medicinal smell. Then, they saw an old woman with gray hair lying on the bed not far away. This is my teacher, Li Huiyue. She was the one who taught me the New Wind tailoring skills, allowing me to have the ability to feed myself. She was also the one who promoted me from a yellow gold tier intermediate grade tailor to the current white platinum tier elementary grade tailor I am now. She's seriously ill. I can't take her to a famous doctor who can cure her now, so I can only give her a peaceful environment to recuperate in Fish Spring Town. And my lord, your territory has just been built. If we go to your territory now, I'm afraid my teacher won't be able to withstand the bumps on the way. That's why I can't go to your territory. My apologies, my lord. Zhongli whispered. Zhou fell silent. He had nothing to say about Zhongli's reason. Was he going to let an old lady risk her life to go to his territory just to complete a quest? Moreover, the novice lord test was in 2 days. At that time, his territory would definitely be even more dangerous. The old lady definitely couldn't stand that kind of environment. Zhou admitted that he was very tempted by the reward for the hidden mission. However, he was not the kind of person who would do things without any bottom line just for the mission reward. Forget it. He did not want the hidden mission reward anymore. After thinking it through, Zhou came to the old lady's side. Is there no cure for this old lady? If you lack a certain herb, I can help. He looked at the old lady's ashen expression and asked. It's not that. She needs a famous doctor. However, my teacher's current situation is quite stable, so there's no need to worry too much for the time being. Zhongli consoled Zhou, seeing how his expression was solemn. She could tell that this lord was genuinely concerned about her teacher and could not help but have a good impression of him. Zhou acknowledged. After that, they did not disturb the old lady's rest and walked out of the room with Bai Yi, leaving Bao Xiu'er and Zhongli inside. My lord, what should we do? Bai Yi could not help but ask. She was one of the few who knew why Zhou was here. Nothing. Let her stay here. We can't really let such an old lady take the risk to travel to our territory. The conditions in Fish Spring Town are indeed better than our Blazing Sun City. It's also more suitable for recuperation. Fortunately, this place isn't far from our Blazing Sun City. If Bao Xiu'er misses her teacher in the future, she can come over anytime. This can be considered another form of master-disciple reunion. Zhou said. My lord is merciful. A smile appeared on Bai Yi's face. She had an even better impression of her lord now. Zhou waved his hand. Inside the house. You didn't follow the wrong lord. This lord is at least benevolent. Zhongli smiled at Bao Xiu'er after Zhou and Bai Yi left. That is true. Moreover, our lord isn't just a benevolent lord. He's also very powerful. Bao Xiu'er told Zhongli about Zhou's achievements in the past 6 days. You're saying that this lord is the lord of the Blazing Sun who occupied the Blazing Sun Desert? Zhongli was stunned. That's right. Bao Xiu'er nodded. Then, she looked at her grandmaster lying on the bed worriedly. I wonder when grandmaster will recover. She did not notice that her teacher, Zhongli, was deep in thought. Soon, her gaze became determined as she walked out of the room. Zhou, who was thinking about what to do next, suddenly saw Zhongli walk out of the room. My lord. Zhongli said before he could say anything. Can you agree to a request of mine? As long as you're willing to agree, I'm willing to become your subject and serve you. However, I need to stay in Fish Spring Town to take care of my teacher until she recovers. I wonder if you're willing. You're an elder. You don't have to be so polite. Just tell me what you want. Zhou was stunned before saying. I know that you are the Lord of the Blazing Sun who has been very famous recently. Your future is destined to be limitless. If you can meet a famous doctor who can treat my teacher in the future, I'm willing to be your subject wholeheartedly. I can be your temporary subject now. You can ask me to work for you like how you ask normal subjects to work for you. However, I have the right to refuse too. I wonder if my lord is willing to accept it. Zhongli asked. Of course. Don't worry. In the future, if I encounter a famous doctor who can treat your teacher, I will definitely ask him or her to help treat her. Zhou Zhou agreed without hesitation. A smile appeared on Zhang Li's face. Subject Zhang Li greets my lord. She bowed slightly. Welcome to Blazing Sun City. Zhou Zhou smiled. The next second, a quest's notification appeared. Notification. Mission quest, Master Disciple reunion completed. 100 white platinum tier mist cores have been distributed. Bao Xiuer's loyalty has increased to dead loyal. White platinum tier elementary grade Tailor Zhang Li has temporarily become your subject. Prompt, after Zhang Li's teacher, Li Huiyue, recovers, Zhang Li will officially become your subject. A smile appeared on Zhou Zhou's face. Things might be different from what he had imagined, but the quest was finally completed. A moment later, Zhou Zhou and Bai Yi left the New Wind tailor shop. Bao Xiuer stayed in the shop for the time being to accompany her teacher until Zhou Zhou and the others were about to return to the territory. On the street, Zhou Zhou and Bai Yi walked one after another. My lord, where are we going? Bai Yi asked curiously. To the Lord's Market. Zhou Zhou said. The Lord's Market. It was the place where Zhang Bowen told him that he could buy what he wanted. Chapter 73 Conqueror's Blast Furnace. Lucky Professional. The Lord's Market. Zhou Zhou looked at the scene in front of him. There were all kinds of stalls on both sides of the street here. Their stall owners were mainly humans, and there were also various life forms of other races. According to what Zhang Bowen said, most of the goods sold here are what the lords need. Most of the merchants here are either lords themselves or envoys sent by the lords to sell their territory's goods. Also, the members of the various factions are selling goods here while befriending the lords who trade here. He said that what I want probably can be bought here. Let's hope we run into them. Zhou Zhou thought to himself. By talking to Zhang Bowen, he had learned that, the lords of the High Continent summoned by the Supreme Will and the Scarlet Lords under the Crimson Overlord were not the only lords here. If a native life form defeated the Scarlet Lord and obtained their Lord token, they would also be bestowed by the Supreme Will. Not only could they become a lord, but they also had a chance to awaken their Lord talent. Creatures under the Supreme Will had fought with the Scarlet Lord under the Crimson Overlord for many years. Countless lords were born this way. Boxen OVL. COM as for forces at the kingdom level and above. They would even specially hunt Scarlet Lords and obtain their Lord tokens. Then, when they conferred titles on officials, they would give them Lord tokens so that they could awaken their Lord status and soar to the sky in a single step. For example, the Cloud Gallop City Lord that Zhou Zhou had heard of was a lord who had awakened his horse-rearing Lord talent by defeating the Scarlet Lord. As for the mayor, Zhang Bowen, he was given a Lord token by the Aurora Kingdom and awakened his Lord talent. His Lord talent was called Fish Water Lake. It was a black iron tier Lord talent. It could allow the territory to have a lake called the Fish Water Lake. The Fish Water Lake would automatically produce a batch of young fish every day and grow in the Fish Water Lake. Moreover, fish that grew up in the Fish Water Lake would be larger and taste more delicious than normal fish. This made this town, which was originally close to the desert and had a dry climate, become a rare town nearby that could produce fish food. It made Fish Spring Town's annual income quite considerable, and the subjects lived quite well. He stopped thinking about it. Zhou Zhou and Bai Yun walked into the Lord's Market and began to look for the seller of the Conqueror's Blast Furnace. They also wanted to see if there were any other valuable items to buy. After asking three strange-looking lords, Zhou Zhou came to a middle-aged man. The other party was wearing a leather hat, old armor, and a huge sword on his back. His face was covered in frost, and he looked like an adventurer. Beside him was a young man who looked like he had just entered the industry. He squatted on the ground and looked around from time to time, as if he was very curious about everything around him. I heard that you have the Conqueror's blast furnace here. Zhou Zhou glanced at the goods in his stall. Most of them were second-hand non-military armor, arms, potions, and so on. He was not interested in them. You want the Conqueror's blast furnace? The other party looked up at Zhou Zhou in surprise. Very few people bought this thing. Usually, only combat-type organizations with many members would require them. Yes, do you have it? Of course. 1 low-grade bronze Conqueror's blast furnace for 20 green bronze tier mist cores. It can work continuously for an hour if you place a green bronze tier mist core in the Conqueror's blast furnace. If you're fast, you can extract the spoils of war from 1,000 corpses every hour. Since you're a new customer, they'll give you a 20% discount. It'll sell you 16 green bronze tier mist cores. Please patronize Haru's often in the future. A smile appeared on his face. How expensive? Is there really someone who sells this just to save energy? Which family could this guy be from? The young man beside him looked up at Zhou Zhou and could not help but wag his tongue. His eyes lit up when he saw Bai Yi who was beside Zhou Zhou. However, he did not dare to look further and quickly retracted his gaze. Zhou Zhou glanced at him without leaving a trace. He used the common language of the high continent when communicating just now. This young man was actually speaking in the Cerulean planet language. Did he meet someone from his old hometown? What are you mumbling about? I'm sorry, sir. This newbie just arrived. Everything is new to him. Haru's patted him and smiled at Zhou Zhou. It's okay. Can you make it cheaper? Zhou Zhou said. It can't be any cheaper. This is a green bronze tier alchemy item after all. The alchemy technician in the association can only create 5 or 6 of them every month. I won't be able to report back if it's any cheaper. Haru shook his head. Alchemy technician. Zhou Zhou's heart stirred. Then, he did not continue bargaining. I don't have many green bronze tier mist cores. Can I use the black iron tier mist cores instead? Sure, 10 black iron tier mist cores for 1 green bronze tier mist core. I want 3 of them. No problem. Brother, come with me to the Adventurer Association to get it. I don't have enough space for 3 Conqueror's blast furnaces in this small place. Haru's eyes lit up when he heard Zhou Zhou's words. This was a big client. You guys are from the Adventurer Association? Zhou Zhou asked casually. Yes, both of us. This kid just joined us 2 days ago. He was still a lord before he came. Now, he has given up his status as a lord and became an adventurer. Don't you think he's stupid? Others can't even dream of becoming a lord, but he gave up his status as a lord voluntarily. According to him, there are many people who give up their status as lords like him. What do you think these people are thinking? They're wasting the gift of the supreme will. Haru's looked regretful. You can be a lord if you want to. I don't want to die. Isn't it good to live well? The adventurer from the Cerulean planet muttered in the language of the Cerulean planet. Zhou Zhou's expression did not change, as if he had not heard anything. Then, Haru's closed the stall and brought him and Bai Yi to the Adventurer Association. A moment later. In front of the Adventurer Association. Zhou Zhou looked at the scene in front of him. This was a tower that was 4 to 5 stories high. Adventurers of different ages, outfits, and even races came and went. Zhou Zhou and the others were quickly led to the backyard and saw the 3 adventurers' blast furnaces. These were 3 fiery red blast furnaces that were 5 to 6 meters tall. There was a ladder beside it, and there was a loot's assembly line below it. It was specially used to send the loot out. Zhou Zhou looked at it. A text notification appeared. Alchemy Technology Product, Conqueror's Blast Furnace, Grade, Green Bronze Tier Elementary Grade, Product Effect, place a green bronze tier mist core in the energy slot and activate it with the energy in your body. The Conqueror's Blast Furnace can begin to extract loots through burning. Duration, 1 hour. Product description, an alchemy technology product from the Gnome Kingdom. It is extremely useful when dealing with large numbers of monster corpses. Zhou Zhou's eyes lit up. In that case, could his 100% drop rate also be achieved through this Conqueror's Blast Furnace? At this moment, there was a middle-aged man standing beside the Conqueror's Blast Furnace. After Haru's introduction, Zhou Zhou and Bai Yi got to know that he was the alchemy technician who had refined the Conqueror's Blast Furnace. "Dear sir, do you need the service of a lucky person?" he said with a smile. "Lucky person service?" Zhou Zhou was stunned. "That's right. As you know, sir. The drop rate of fog monsters is extremely low in the high continent. The only loots that would definitely drop are the mist cores and some special items. But there are also some life forms who are often very lucky. Therefore, those who have a large number of monster corpses will seek these lucky people to specially extract the loot from the monster corpses, hoping to increase their profits through this method. Over time, these people become official professionals. In other words, they became the lucky person." The alchemy technician spoke frankly. Zhou Zhou's expression was strange. What an eye-opener. How could this become a profession? How lucky are these lucky people? He asked curiously. "Sir, since you asked this question, we have to specially mention our Lady Luck's favorite Myers. He's the luckiest person in our adventurer association. He once extracted 4 Sword Shield Soldier class change certificates from the corpses of 100 desert fog lizards. He was the one who set the lucky person record of our adventurer association." I'm afraid you've never heard of the Sword Shield Soldier class change certificate being extracted from the desert fog lizard's corpse, right? It's not surprising. We wouldn't know either if not for the records in our adventurer association. Would you like to make an appointment? Myers happens to be free now. If you let him manage the Conqueror's Blast Furnace, he will definitely bring you shocking benefits. The alchemy technician looked at Zhou Zhou with shining eyes. "Zhou Zhou, doesn't the Sword Shield Soldier class change certificate drop 100% of the time? Do I even need the lucky person?" Zhou Zhou muttered in his heart. On the surface, his expression remained the same. He rejected the other party's good intentions and handed him 480 black iron tier mist cores to buy these 3 green bronze tier elementary grade bronze Conqueror's Blast Furnaces. He had a total of 33,231 black iron tier mist cores in his hands. Spending 480 black iron tier mist cores to buy these 3 Conqueror's Blast Furnaces was more than enough. After that, he asked the other party if he wanted to sell the alchemy technology blueprints for the Conqueror's Blast Furnace. It was a pity that the other party saw it as a way to earn a living and refused to sell it. Zhou Zhou did not insist. There will always be opportunities in the future. After that, they temporarily left the 3 Conqueror's Blast Furnaces at the Adventurer Association and said that they would take them away after he called for help. Not only did Haru's agree immediately, they even said that they could help transport it for free. However, Zhou Zhou rejected them. Then, Zhou Zhou and Bai Yi left the Adventurer Association and returned to the Lord's Market. A moment later, they came to a place called Kunt's Slave Market. Zhou Zhou looked at the noisy scene in front of him with anticipation. Whether his Sword Shield Soldier class change certificate and Poison Crossbow Soldier class change certificate could be converted into true combat strength would depend on his gains, if any, in the slave market this time. The two of them walked in. Chapter 74 More than 3,000 slaves. Peace and prosperity effective. 1. Kunt's Slave Market. Zhou Zhou and Bai Yi strolled. Slave owners were introducing their goods on both sides of the road, and behind them were numb slaves sitting in iron cages. Most of them were humans, but a small number were from other races. When Zhou Zhou entered, he was already mentally prepared. However, when he saw this scene, the excitement on his face gradually disappeared. "My lord, do you not have slaves where you came from?" Bai Yi asked curiously when she saw the change in Zhou Zhou's expression. "There really aren't any in my hometown. Where did these slaves come from?" Zhou Zhou said. "Almost all of these slaves came from the war box and OVL. After some lords are defeated in the war between lords, if their conquerors are not interested in the subjects of the defeated lords, they will sell them here. There are also some slaves who lost their jobs in the war. They had no choice but to sell themselves in order to survive. Otherwise, they would either starve to death or be killed by the fog monsters outside." Bai Yi said. Zhou Zhou acknowledged. A moment later, the two of them followed the information they had heard and found the slave owner who sold the largest number of slaves here. Kunt. Kunt was a man who was more than 2 meters tall. He had a big bald head, and his skin was purple. He looked rather fierce. "I heard that you guys are looking for me to discuss a big business deal." He sized up Zhou Zhou, but when he saw Bai Yi, his eyes lit up and he could not look away. "Humph." Bai Yi noticed her gaze and immediately snorted. Kunt smiled awkwardly. "I'm sorry. It was the first time I saw a human with an elven bloodline, so I couldn't help but take a few more glances." He chuckled. "You better watch your eyes," Zhou Zhou said calmly. Kunt narrowed his eyes and nodded with a smile. "What kind of slaves do you need?" "Human slaves. It's best if they're young and strong. It's fine as long as they don't have a profession," Zhou Zhou said. Sure. I might not have other types of slaves, but we have a lot of human slaves without class. Furthermore, they're the cheapest. Specifically, there are 2 types of human slaves without professions here. The first type are slaves who have been specially trained by slave trainers. They know how to serve their masters and have a slave contract engraved in their bodies. After buying them, they promise to be loyal to you and never betray or devour their master. If they dare to resist, their lives can be instantly severed in your hands with the controller we gave you. The cost of nurturing such slaves is very high, so the price is slightly higher. The price of each slave is 1 green bronze tier mist core. The second type are slaves who have never been trained by slave trainers. They don't know how to serve their masters, let alone have a slave contract in their bodies. You can only bring them back for more training if you want them to be even more obedient. They're a lot cheaper. 4 black iron tier mist cores each, Kunt said. Zhou Zhou frowned slightly. It was not because it was too expensive, but because it was too cheap. 4 black iron tier mist cores in exchange for a slave. The mist cores dropped by a black iron tier intermediate grade fog monster was enough to exchange for a slave. In this chaotic world, human lives were like grass. He suddenly thought of this saying. "Let me see the second type of slave," Zhou Zhou said after a moment of silence. "Okay. Come with me." Kunt nodded and led the way. Zhou Zhou and Bai Yi followed. A moment later, they came to a large open-air warehouse. As soon as he entered, the air was filled with smelly feces. Then, they looked over. There were thousands of iron cages of various sizes in the huge warehouse. The humans were trapped in the iron cages with numb eyes. They did not struggle, nor did they have any intention of escaping. They were like walking corpses. After seeing them arrive, most did not react at all lest for desire in some people's eyes. "Sir, don't worry. They're not sick. It's just that in order to prevent them from escaping, we only give them a meal every 3 days. That's why they look so listless," Kunt explained with a smile. "How many human slaves do you have?" Zhou Zhou looked at the humans and suddenly asked. "A total of 3,152 people." "Sir, how many do you want?" Kunt asked. "I'll take them all," he said. "What?" Kunt thought he had misheard. "I said I want them all," Zhou said calmly. Kunt's eyes widened. Then, an ecstatic expression appeared on his face. "I'll settle the procedures for you now. Then I'll let them have a bath and a full meal. Then you can take them away. However, you need to pay a deposit of 5,000 black iron tier mist cores now," he immediately said. Zhou did not say much. With a wave of his right hand, 5,000 black iron tier mist cores appeared out of thin air on the ground and piled up into a small mountain. Kunt widened his eyes, his gaze immediately landed on the spatial ring on Zhou's finger. Greed flashed across his eyes. Zhou noticed his gaze but he didn't care. He did not want to expose the fact that he had spatial equipment, but he could not take out so many mist cores without exposing his spatial ring. Chapter 75 More than 3,000 slaves. Peace and prosperity effective. 2. He wasn't afraid of being exposed with Bai Yi and Nazario around anyway. "Sir, please rest in the lounge first. I will call for you to take them away when I have these slaves ready." Kunt lowered his head. Zhou acknowledged. Then, they were led to the lounge by two waiters. After they left, Kunt's eyes suddenly flickered. A moment later, he looked at a strong male slave in the distance and secretly made a beheading gesture. A fierce glint flashed across the male slave's eyes. He nodded. A sinister smile gradually appeared on his face. Boxen OVL. COM. Half an hour later. In an open-air square. Countless people were watching because a total of 3,152 slaves were gathered here. "Oh my God, who is this? Buying so many slaves at once? From the looks of it, they are slaves without a slave contract. Impressive. He actually dared to buy such slaves. He's really bold. One can't be so greedy even if he wants to take advantage. Be careful not to lose your life. It should be bought by the young man at the front. He looks unfamiliar. He's probably an outsider." "An outsider? No wonder. There's a good show to watch then." There was a heated discussion around them. Zhou, who was standing in front of these slaves, had a calm expression. "Sir, these slaves have all washed up and eaten. They're yours now, you can take them away at any time. You're welcome to visit Kunt again if you need anything next time. Also, Kunt has a small gift for you." Kunt clapped his hands. A carriage was driven over. There were 2 iron cages in the carriage. Inside were 2 tall and beautiful twin sisters with cat ears and cat tails. Their hands and feet were tied and they sat in the iron cage, unable to move. "Sir. These are the half-beast twins I recently recruited. Don't worry. They're still virgins and no one has touched them. You can bring them back and slowly train them. I guarantee that they will pleasure you however you want them to." At the end of Kunt's speech, an expression of understanding appeared on his face. Zhou did not say anything. He handed the remaining 7,608 black iron tier mist cores to the other party. "Awesome. From now on, these 3,152 human slaves and these 2 half-beast beauties are all yours." Kunt smiled. The next second, a text notification appeared in front of Zhou. Prompt: You have obtained 3,152 human slaves and 2 half-beast slaves. At this moment, Zhou could already see their personal information. He took a cursory look. He realized that the loyalty of most of the slaves here was about 30 to 40. The lowest was only a dozen loyalty points, and the highest had 50 points of loyalty at best. Zhou was already prepared for this. He didn't waste his breath and left with Bai Yi. Kunt's eyes gradually narrowed as he watched them leave. Young sir, let me teach you a lesson. There is a reason why you cannot just buy these cheap slaves. You'll suffer if you take advantage of others. He whispered. Zhou Zhou and Bai Yi led the 3,000 slaves towards the city gate. On the way, he also took away the 3 conquerors' blast furnaces that he had left at the Adventurers Association and called Bao Xiu'er back from the New Wind tailor shop. Soon, they walked out of the city gate and arrived a kilometer or 2 away from the city gate. When he reached here, he was not far from his 1,000 soldiers. Zhou Zhou stopped. Then, he turned around and looked at the 3,000 slaves. Everyone. Let me reintroduce myself. My name is Zhou Zhou. I'm a lord. My title is Lord of the Blazing Sun. Before bringing you back to my territory, I need everyone to join my territory and become my subjects. I can promise you one thing. As long as you become my subjects, I can remove your slave status and let you settle down in Blazing Sun City as official subjects. You won't be discriminated against because of your slave status anymore. Zhou Zhou looked at everyone. When everyone heard this, most of them immediately became excited. They could be freed from their slave status and return to their status as normal subjects. Who wouldn't agree to such a good thing? Not to mention becoming the subjects of the recently famous Lord of Blazing Sun City. Even they had heard of this person's reputation being trapped in the slave market recently. I'm willing to become a subject of Blazing Sun City. Me too. I'm willing to join Blazing Sun City and become your most loyal subject. The crowd shouted excitedly. Big brother who? What do we do? I didn't expect this guy to be the Lord of the Blazing Sun. Are we joining his territory? A group of people's expressions fluctuated in the crowd as they started plotting in low voices. Say yes to him first. It doesn't matter anyway. How can the Lord of the Blazing Sun still exist when boss men arrive and kill this kid? The male slave who had exchanged secret signals with Kunt sneered. Yes, big brother who? The others also felt that there was no problem and echoed the call of willingness to become subjects of Blazing Sun City. Zhou Zhou looked at the notifications of applications to become Blazing Sun City subjects. After the number of notifications reached 3,154, he muttered to himself to agree. The next second, a text notification appeared. Notification: 3,152 humans and 2 half-beasts have become your subjects. Lord Talent hint: peace and prosperity is taking effect. The loyalty of your subjects is increasing. Lord Talent hint: loyalty of 3,152 human subjects has increased to 71 points, loyalty of 2 half-beast subjects has increased to 71 points. Zhou Zhou saw the last notification. A smile appeared on his face. Why did he dare to buy these cheap, untrained slaves? It was because he knew that he had the Diamond Lord talent, peace and prosperity. No matter how low their loyalty was, even if they harbored evil intentions, as long as they became his subjects, they would immediately become loyal to him. They might not be as determined as his dead loyalists, but 71 points of loyalty had already reached the minimum threshold of loyalty. Basically, they would not have any thoughts of betraying him. Welcome to Blazing Sun City. From now on, I announce that you are no longer slaves, but official subjects of the Blazing Sun City. From now on, you can live uprightly in my territory and no longer be discriminated against. Now, come home with me, your lord. Zhou Zhou smiled. Yes. Everyone said in unison. Their voices contained hope for the future. Bai Yi felt as though her lord was emitting light seeing this scene. Just as they were about to leave, a sudden mutation occurred. Chapter 76 Subdue. Kunt is a lord. Tap, tap, tap. The sound of horse hooves came from the front, accompanied by a series of arrogant shouts. Soon, a group of people riding cloud horses rushed over and surrounded Zhou Zhou and the gang. There were about 300 to 400 of them. There were not many of them, but the bright sabers and swords completely suppressed the people on Zhou Zhou's side in terms of aura. Zhou Zhou and Bai Yi were not afraid at all. They just looked at them calmly. A bald man soon emerged from the crowd. He rode out on his horse and swept his gaze around. He immediately found Zhou Zhou and Bai Yi, who had completely different auras from others. You two, I'm really sorry. There are my brothers who were once captured among the slaves you bought. Now, I want to take my brothers away, Boxen OVL. Also, you treat my brothers like a slave. Isn't it a little rude to buy and sell them? How about this? Leave all your slaves, weapons, and belongings behind as an apology. This big brother will let bygones be bygones. How about that? He laughed. The people behind him laughed without any scruples. So it's a group of bandits. Let me correct you on one thing. They are not slaves. They are now official subjects of Blazing Sun City. Also, your brothers aren't among my subjects either. Zhou Zhou suddenly said calmly. Haha. You won't give up until you see the truth, right? Huzi, bring our brothers out to show this Lord of the Blazing Sun who has become very famous recently. He shouted. Swish, 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 swish. Among the 3,000 slaves, at least 300 to 400 of them suddenly drew their swords. Are you dumbfounded now? These are my brothers. Surrender obediently, little lord. Don't expect the slaves you bought to protect you. They will listen to whoever gives them food. Do you believe that if I give the order now, all the slaves you just bought will become my slaves? Zhang Kaishan grinned and said arrogantly. I don't believe you. Zhou Zhou said calmly. Then, the 300 to 400 slaves who had just taken out their weapons walked out of the crowd and stood in front of Zhou Zhou. When Zhang Kaishan saw this scene, he wanted to mock the Lord of the Blazing Sun. Then, he saw that these people's weapons were all aimed at him. Zhang Dahu. What the hell are you doing? Are you trying to rebel? He was stunned. Then, he widened his eyes and cursed. Old Zhang, put down your weapon. Don't go against our Lord. Otherwise, I'm afraid there will be blood between us brothers today. Zhang Dahu couldn't bear to look at his former brother. However, when he thought of the Lord behind him, his grip on the saber became even more firm, and a hint of killing intent gradually appeared in his eyes. Do you fucking know what you're talking about? Have you forgotten what you do? It must be you. What did you do to my brother? Zhang Kaishan cursed. Then, he reacted and immediately looked at Zhou Zhou angrily. Zhou Zhou smiled. He did not explain. Sorry. I had no choice previously. But right now, I just want to be an obedient subject under my lord. Zhang Dahu raised the saber in his hand and aimed the tip at Zhang Kaishan. At the same time, the brothers behind him and the remaining 500 to 600 slaves, including the two half-beasts in the iron cage on the carriage, also looked at them with hostility. It seemed that as long as they dared to move an inch towards them, they dared to rush up and tear them apart. Seeing this scene, Zhang Kaishan felt that the world had gone crazy. He knew what a slave was like. This was not the first time he had done something like this. Every time, the slaves would watch helplessly as the owner who bought them was killed, then be captured and sold as slave goods again. What happened to these slaves now? Why did they suddenly become so loyal to their master? The most ridiculous thing was that even his brother had become like this. He looked at the gazes of these people and realized that something was wrong. Zhang Kaishan wanted to escape. The beauty with the elven bloodline beside the Lord of the Blazing Sun suddenly whistled. Then, a total of 1,000 soldiers roared and rushed over from all directions, surrounding them. Zhang Kaishan looked at this scene blankly. Put down your arms obediently, get off your horses and surrender. Then, become my subjects. That way, I can spare your lives. Otherwise, the ground beneath your feet will be your burial ground today. Zhou Zhou said calmly. As soon as he finished speaking, the 500 sword-shield soldiers took a step forward in unison. They held sabers and shields and looked at them covetously. The 500 elemental archers also drew their bows and aimed their arrows at them. Faint red fire elemental energy condensed, giving Zhang Kaishan and the others immense pressure. I surrender. Am willing to become your subject. Seeing this scene, Zhang Kaishan's expression changed. He immediately threw away the saber in his hand and jumped down from the horse. Then, he knelt on the ground and hurriedly kowtowed. They only had 300 to 400 people on their side. Zhou Zhou had more than 4,000 people on his side. There was such a huge difference in numbers. Only a fool would resist. The leader surrendered, his lackeys looked at each other and hurriedly jumped off their horses. They put down their arms and knelt down too. I surrender. Sir, don't kill me. I'm also willing to become Sir's subjects. The bandit said fearfully. A text notification appeared in front of Zhou Zhou. Notification: 421 people have surrendered to you and wish to become your subjects. Do you agree? Accept. Zhou Zhou thought to himself. The next second, the familiar notification appeared again. Lord Talent hint: peace and prosperity is taking effect. The loyalty of the subjects is increasing. Lord Talent hint: loyalty of 421 human subjects has increased to 71 points. Zhou Zhou looked at the Lord Talent notification and then looked at Zhang Kaishan and the others. That was indeed the case. Even though these people were still a little terrified, their gazes and expressions had already become quite docile and loyal. Zhou Zhou immediately felt better. This Lord Talent of peace and prosperity was ridiculously useful when subduing surrendered soldiers. As expected of a Diamond Lord Talent. After that, Zhou Zhou looked at the strength of these people. Among them, Zhang Kaishan was the strongest and had already reached the green bronze tier elementary grade. The rest of the people were at least at the black iron tier elementary grade. Even though Zhou Zhou had heard about their combat class before, this was the first time he had seen it. Martial artists. This was a classless combat profession. They were produced in a building called a dojo. Among the human non-military combat professions, martial artists, rangers, adventurers. These three professions were the most widespread and common gradeless professions. Their professional strength was mainly affected by the cultivation techniques they learned. Some could reach the strength of a kingdom-level profession, or even higher. Some could only match the strength of the basic profession. The upper limit could be extremely high and the lower limit could also be extremely low. This was the characteristic of the martial artist profession. After that, Zhou Zhou asked Zhang Dahu and Zhang Kaishan about the deeper information regarding their ambush. As Zhou Zhou had expected, it was indeed Kunt's doing. Moreover, they had done this many times. It succeeded of Kunt's power. The fact that he had done things very cleanly and did not go after the lords every time was the reason why they did not dare to provoke him even if someone suspected him. Until he met Zhou Zhou. Facing the spatial ring and a human slave with an elf bloodline, Kunt could not help but decide to take advantage of him again. Unfortunately, no one expected Zhou Zhou to have the abnormal Lord Talent of peace and prosperity. In addition, he had even brought 1,000 soldiers over. In the end, he screwed up. After Zhou Zhou heard this, she glanced at Bai Yi. Bai Yi nodded slightly and left quietly. Kunt's slave market. In the lobby. Kunt was sitting in the main seat, thinking about Zhou Zhou and Bai Yi. Who should I sell that human with elven blood to after capturing her? He was a little excited. He didn't dare to sell pure-blooded elves because the Elven Empire had always had zero tolerance in this aspect. He did not want to be wanted by that huge empire. However, the market price of humans with elf blood was extremely high. Many high-ranking officials and nobles were willing to spend a lot of money to buy them. Maybe I can make some important friends with this opportunity. He thought about this. He couldn't help but fantasize. At this moment, a powerful spiritual pressure suddenly descended. It was as if a legendary hero had descended into the mortal world. The next second. Whoosh! A silent wooden arrow suddenly shot over and pierced Kunt's throat. Kunt's eyes widened as he spat out blood continuously. Gradually, he calmed down and stopped breathing. A moment later. On the outskirts of Fish Spring Town. Zhou Zhou looked at Kunt's corpse. Item name, Kunt's corpse, item level, green bronze tier advanced grade, item effect, contains unextracted loots. Item description, an Aurora human slave master killed by a hero. Loot drop rate, 8 green bronze tier mist core, drop rate, 100%, 1 green bronze tier advanced grade martial arts manual, gust blade, drop rate, 25%, 1 green bronze tier aurora crystal, drop rate, 10%, 1 gradeless martial artist class change certificate, drop rate, 0, 1%, 9 black iron tier lord talent crystal fragments, drop rate, 0%. He is also a lord. He could not help but raise his eyebrows. Chapter 77 Inaugurated Martial Artist. Gust Blade. Zhou Zhou squatted down and placed his hand on the other party's corpse. A golden notification appeared. Do you want to retrieve the loot? Yes. He thought. The next second. Lord Talent hint, you have obtained loots, 8 mist cores, 1 martial arts manual, gust blade, green bronze tier advanced grade, 1 aurora crystal, 1 martial artist class change certificate, no grade, 9 Lord Talent crystal fragments, black iron tier, whoosh. Kunt's corpse instantly turned into loots and dropped. Not far away. Zhang Dahu and Zhang Kaishan, who had complicated expressions, immediately widened their eyes when they saw this scene. Boxen OVL. COM, is Big Brother's drop rate that high? Is the Lord a lucky person? Even the lucky person isn't that ridiculous, right? The surrounding soldiers did not seem surprised at all. This scene was nothing to them, who saw a large number of loots drop from their lord every day. At the same time, Zhou Zhou also began to examine this fellow's spoils of war other than the mist cores and aurora crystals. Zhou Zhou first looked at the martial artist class change certificate. Item name, martial artist class change certificate, item level, gradeless, item effect, class change tool for non-grade combat class. After using it, you can become a gradeless combat class martial artist. You will also have the basic theory of martial arts cultivation, 1 year of normal martial artist combat experience, and the initial strength of a lower-level black iron. Item description, gradeless combat class certificate. The most common basic combat class in the Supreme Continent. Its upper and lower limits are determined by the quality of the martial arts manual. Zhou Zhou looked at the class change certificate thoughtfully. He had a 100% drop rate. Therefore, he had always wanted to take on a combat profession with an extremely high upper limit. But now, this martial artist class was very interesting. Even though it was a gradeless combat profession, its upper limit was determined by the quality of the martial arts manual. An extremely high-quality martial arts manual could completely make a martial artist class comparable to a kingdom class or even higher. I have a 100% drop rate. It won't be a problem to obtain higher-level martial arts manuals in the future. It's entirely possible for me to raise the potential and power of this class to the level of a Divine Kingdom class or even Supreme class. Moreover, the Novice Lord test is about to begin. I can't wait for another class with a higher upper limit either. I have to have stronger strength to protect myself before the Novice Lord's protective barrier disappears. Martial artist then. Zhou Zhou made up his mind. He did not use it immediately. Instead, he looked at the martial arts manual. Martial Arts Secret Manual, Gust Blade, Secret Manual Quality, Green Bronze Tier Advanced Grad, E, Cultivation Effect 1, Gust Swordsman. When you use a blade-type arms with all your might, your attack speed can be increased to 5 times per second. Cultivation Effect 2, 13 Gust Slash, the ultimate skill of the Gust Blade. Within a second, strike the enemy 13 times consecutively. Note, the above effects will reach the maximum value when a martial artist reaches the strength of a Green Bronze Tier Advanced Grade. The cultivation effect obtained by those below the strength of a Green Bronze Tier Advanced Grade will decrease. Zhou nodded slightly. It might only be a Green Bronze Tier Advanced Grade martial arts manual, but the cultivation effect of this secret manual was still quite useful. He didn't hesitate. After asking Bai Yi to protect him and not let anyone disturb him, he chose to use it on the spot. Soon, the martial artist class change certificate and Gust Blade turned into 2 bronze lights and fused into his glabella. Zhou closed his eyes. He immediately felt that the promotion energy in his body had increased, allowing him to be closer to the Green Bronze Tier Intermediate Grade. At the same time, a large amount of martial artist cultivation common sense and Gust Blade cultivation experience appeared in his mind. A text notification appeared. Congratulations, you have successfully changed your class to a gradeless combat class, a martial artist. Your combat class column has been activated. Your martial arts secret manual has been unlocked. You have cultivated the martial arts secret manual, Gust Blade, Green Bronze Tier Advanced Grade. You can switch to other martial arts manuals at any time. Zhou opened his eyes. He looked at his hands and felt that they were suddenly much lighter. Then, he took out a Green Bronze Tier Elementary Grade Sword Shield Soldier Saber from his spatial ring. He tried to wave his saber and realized that his speed was indeed much faster. However, it could only last for 3 slashes per second at most. He couldn't do the top-notch 5 slashes a second. Then, he prepared to use the 13 Gust Slash again. Zhou stared at the air in front of him. Suddenly, his right hand holding the saber suddenly turned into an afterimage. Within a second. Whoosh! 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 A total of 8 saber lights flashed in the air and a series of sharp whistles sounded. Not bad. Zhou nodded in satisfaction. The skills he had obtained previously were either summoning skills, long-range skills, or support skills. This Gust Blade could make up for his weakness in close combat. Moreover, as his strength increased, the cultivation effect of this secret manual would also become stronger. Zhou was starting to like this profession. As for the last 9 Black Iron Tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments, he put them away. Then, Zhou looked at Zhang Dahu and Zhang Kaishan. Do you know where Kunt's territory is? How's the military strength there? He asked. I do. Kunt's territory is in the desolate Gobi. That's the old camp he's been running for more than 10 years. It's well guarded. However, as his brothers, we know a safe passage that leads directly to the interior of his territory. He also has a slave guard of 5,000 people in his territory. Every slave soldier is loyal to Kunt himself. After the combat training of slave trainers, their combat ability is already comparable to basic soldier professions of the same level. Zhang Kaishan immediately said. Zhou was deep in thought. If I let you and Zhang Dahu go back, he'll even lend you some more soldiers. Can you take over Kunt's slave organization? He looked at Zhang Kaishan. I'm 100% confident if your soldiers are here. Zhang Kaishan said confidently. Okay. Then follow me to the city first. Zhou acknowledged. After that, he brought all the soldiers and subjects back to Blazing Sun City. More than an hour later. Zhou Zhou and the others returned to Blazing Sun City safely. When they returned, the mighty subjects team immediately caused a stir among all the Blazing Sun City subjects. My lord! Did you rob Fish Spring Town? Zheng Yuanqi looked at the additional 3,500 subjects and was dumbfounded. Fish Spring Town is a town under the jurisdiction of your disciple. Even if I really wanted to plunder, I wouldn't plunder Fish Spring Town. Zhou Zhou explained with a smile. Then, he told the other party about what had happened on this trip. The other party nodded slightly. Elder Zheng, make arrangements for these 3,573 new subjects. Those who should help build buildings, build buildings. Those who should be apprentices to life professions, become apprentices. In short, let them do their own things as soon as possible and integrate into the identity of Blazing Sun City's subjects. Zhou Zhou said. Unexpectedly, Zheng Yuanqi's expression was a little serious. My lord! Please forgive me for what I'm about to say. There are already more than 7,000 people in our territory including them. The number of people has already exceeded the maximum population that the territory's infrastructure can carry. The population is acceptable for today. But there must be no new population for the time being. Just the water, amongst other things, produced by our territory is almost unable to satisfy the daily needs of the subjects. In addition, I discovered many problems in the territory. When the Lord has time, I need to talk to you about these problems and discuss solutions. Okay. Zhou Zhou was stunned for a moment before nodding seriously. Zheng Yuanqi bowed respectfully and went to arrange the whereabouts of these people. My lord! What about the two cat-girl sisters? Should we arrange for them to stay by the Lord's side and serve you? Bai Yi walked over and pointed at the cat-girl sisters who had already come out of the iron cage. There was a knowing smile on her face towards the end. Not for now. I can take care of myself. I've seen their stats before. They are very talented in agility and have a huge advantage in close combat. They are quite suitable to be sword-shield soldiers. Let's arrange for them to train in the Blazing Sun Army first. Zhou Zhou shook his head. To be honest, these two were very tempting to any normal man given their appearance, figure, or some special physical characteristics. Zhou Zhou was no exception. However, they had just joined Blazing Sun City. Even though their loyalty was already 71 points, it was still a little low in Zhou Zhou's eyes, so he did not want to arrange for the two of them to be by his side for the time being. He could arrange for them to be by his side when their loyalty reached 90 points. Yes, my lord. He'll definitely train them well when they enter the army. Bai Yi said. Zhou Zhou nodded slightly. In a while, gather all the male subjects of these new subjects together. I want all of them to change professions. He said. He had saved up the Sword Shield Soldier class change certificates and the Poison Crossbow Soldier class change certificates for so many days. He could finally use them. Yes. Bai Yi said respectfully. Then, she turned around and left. Chapter 78 Job Changes for All. Green Bronze Tier Advanced Grade Aurora Tower. A moment later. The 2,145 male subjects and the two cat girls were gathered together. They already knew Zhou Zhou's motive. However, not only did they not resist, they even looked at Zhou Zhou with bright eyes. In this chaotic world, being an ordinary subject did not mean that they were safer than the soldiers fighting outside. On the contrary, only by becoming a professional who grasped extraordinary power could one better grasp one's own fate. That was something that they, who had once been slaves, knew best. They would never forget the feeling of being powerless and unable to resist the slave owners for the rest of their lives. Therefore, they were extremely eager that their new lord could really bestow them with the extraordinary power of professionals. With a wave of Zhou Zhou's hand, a total of 2,147 Sword Shield Soldier Class Change Certificates appeared in front of them. Boxen OVL. COM. He now had a total of 3,876 Sword Shield Soldier Class Change Certificates and 2,078 Poison Crossbow Soldier Class Change Certificates. Among them, the Poison Crossbow Soldier Class Change Certificate was a Beginner Soldier Class Change Certificate. Zhou Zhou did not plan to give it to them directly. On the one hand, he planned to let Bai Yi and the others choose soldiers with long-range marksmanship talent from the soldiers to change their profession. On the other hand, he placed the Poison Crossbow Soldier Class Change Certificates into the Military Merit Exchange system so that soldiers with military merit could obtain a job change through military merit and mobilize their combat enthusiasm. This was fairer. At the same time, after he took out these class change certificates, soldiers walked forward and handed these Sword Shield Soldier Class Change Certificates to these subjects. Zhou Zhou asked them to change their jobs on the spot. As soon as he finished speaking, waves of white light lit up from these subjects stemming from their excitement to use the class change certificates. There were so many of them. Zhou Zhou couldn't help but narrow his eyes. A moment later, all the white light dissipated. What appeared in front of Zhou Zhou were 2,147 Sword Shield soldiers wearing standard military equipment. They looked at the equipment on their bodies and felt the black iron tier elementary grade power surging in their bodies. They were extremely excited. At the same time, a large number of notifications appeared in front of Zhou Zhou. He could only block them all because there were too many of them. Zhou Zhou looked at these recruits and suddenly wanted to say something. Soldiers, he suddenly said, his voice spread throughout the entire battlefield under the power of his mental power, allowing all the soldiers to hear him. They all quietened down and focused on the Lord who had given them a new life. Congratulations. You have already embarked on the path of an extraordinary. You now have extraordinary power that ordinary people can't even imagine. This power can be used to protect your family and things you want to protect. You can also take revenge on your former enemies. I know that the person you hate the most is Kunt. Even though Kunt is dead now. But his territory still exists. There are also a large number of Kunt's thugs inside. This lord is prepared to lead troops there to destroy Kunt's lair. Are you willing to follow me and destroy these enemies? He looked at these new subjects. The scene suddenly fell silent. A few seconds later. We're willing to die for the Lord. A young soldier holding a saber and shield suddenly knelt down, his eyes gradually turning red. His voice seemed to turn on a switch. Furious roars sounded one after another. We're willing to die for the Lord. Destroy these bastards. We can't let scum like them live in this world. More than 2,000 soldiers roared in unison. Every soldier was filled with killing intent. Okay. If that's the case, rest for an hour. Then we'll set off for Kunt's territory. Zhou Zhou said in a low voice. Yes. The soldiers said one after another. Zhou Zhou nodded and looked at Bai Yi. Take 2,000 men. Let's go together later. He said. Kunt's territory had a total of 5,000 slave guards. It could be said that he was the enemy that Zhou Zhou had encountered with the most subjects. He had to go all out. However, he still had a battlefield-killing weapon like Nazario's dragon might. Therefore, Zhou Zhou was not worried that he would lose. Yes, my lord. Bai Yi said respectfully and immediately went to pass down the order. Zhou Zhou was not idle either. He found Zhao Changshu and took out the green bronze tier advanced grade Aurora Tower. This Aurora Tower was more than 20 meters tall. It was completely white and had a sharp shape. A hexagonal crystal floated at the top of the tower, emitting a gentle white light under the sunlight. Zhou Zhou had the elementary grade mental potential. He could vaguely sense that the hexagonal crystal contained astonishing and majestic energy. Good luck, my lord. The Aurora Tower is considered a strategic arms in the Aurora Kingdom. It's very difficult for some great factions' lords to obtain it. I didn't expect my lord to obtain a ready-made one just by going out. Even though it's only a green bronze tier advanced grade. But it's also a treasure that many large factions dream of. Zhao Changshu paused for a second and then smiled. He did not ask about the origin of the Aurora Tower. Zhou did not explain further. He first looked at the attributes of this Aurora Tower. Building name, Aurora Tower, construction level, green bronze tier advanced grade, building function 1, light energy reserve device, absorb light elements and store them in the light energy reserve device of the Aurora Tower to collect attack energy for the Aurora Cannon. Construction effect 2, Aurora Cannon, ray mode, activating Aurora Cannon, consumes 1% of the light elemental energy in the light energy reserve device every second, forming an extremely penetrating aurora ray that sweeps through all enemies in range. Construction effect 2, Aurora Cannon, polarity mode, activate the Aurora Cannon and instantly release all the light elemental energy in the energy storage device. Concentrate on one point to kill the enemy. It can kill anything below the yellow gold tier. Remark, the Aurora Tower has a range of 10,000 meters. Building upgrade, 50,000 units of wood, 50,000 units of fine sand, 100,000 units of metal, 100,000 units of stone, 100 units of white platinum tier aurora crystals, 50 white platinum tier mist core. Architecture description, the Tribune building of the Aurora tribe. It is also the only kingdom-level building in the Aurora Kingdom. It plays an indelible role in the establishment and expansion of the Aurora Kingdom. Zhou nodded in satisfaction. The killing ability of the Aurora Tower might not be as good as Nazario's Magma Dragon Breath. However, its Aurora Cannon, ray mode, far exceeded the other party's range attack. With this low-end kingdom-level building, he finally felt much more at ease facing the Novice Lord test 2 days later. Then, he handed 51 green bronze tier aurora crystals to Zhao Changshu. I can build a green bronze tier intermediate grade Aurora Tower with so many Aurora crystals. Zhao Changshu looked at the Aurora crystals in surprise. The quest he entrusted to Zhou was just to build a bronze-level Aurora Tower. Other than the Aurora Tower, I have something else to ask of Elder Zhao. Zhou said. My lord, if you have something to say, just say it. It's our duty to share the Lord's worries. How can we ask you to do this? Zhao Changshu waved his hand. Then he'll get straight to the point. The monster ranches can be upgraded again now. Elder Zhao, if you have time, why don't you upgrade all the monster ranches to the green bronze tier intermediate grade? Zhou said. The monster ranch leveled up again. Leave it to me. Zhao Changshu's eyes lit up. He had a vague feeling of breaking through ever since he helped Mu Gu advance to monster ranches. After hearing Zhou's words, he immediately had a premonition. Whether he could be promoted to a white platinum tier advanced grade architect would probably depend on the promotion of the monster ranches this time. More than an hour later. The soldiers were done resting. Zhou immediately brought 2,147 new sword shield soldiers, 1,000 poison crossbow soldiers, 1,000 elemental archers, i.e., Nazario, and the others to the desolate Gobi. Chapter 79 Attacking Kunt City. Shocking reward. An hour and a half later. Outside Kunt City, in the desolate Gobi. Hoo! The wind blew loudly. The land of the desolate Gobi was mainly made of coarse sand and gravel. The geology was slightly harder, which made it more convenient to walk. Unlike the blazing sun desert, where there was a lot of quicksand. The terrain was soft and more difficult to walk on. However, the sandstorm here was much stronger than in the blazing sun desert. The wind was mixed in with gravel. It was very easy to cause some wounds when it hit a person's face. No one would want it even if this place was occupied, right? Zhou Zhou looked at his surroundings. There was no green at all at a glance. There was nothing except for high winds and grit. Boxen OVL. He shook his head. His gaze landed on the distant Kunt city. A grayish-black wall that was more than 20 meters tall stood there. Just one glance at this tall wall gave Zhou Zhou a feeling that it was unbreakable. He could only see the corners of some buildings inside from the outside. My good lord, they are so rich. They actually built such a high wall. I estimate that at least half of my soldiers will die before we can take this place if I get them to storm the walls without Nazario's help. Zhou Zhou clicked his tongue. Where's the safe passage you mentioned? He looked at Zhang Kaishan. My lord, please follow me. Zhang Kaishan said respectfully. Then, he walked away from Kunt city. When Zhou Zhou saw this, he called for the soldiers and followed him. A moment later, Zhang Kaishan stood in front of a stone mountain. He looked at the stone mountain and suddenly slashed down with the saber in his hand. 13 gust slash. Whoosh. 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 8 saber beams flashed across the surface of the stone mountain. The next second. Splash. A large number of stones were shattered and fell to the sand, revealing a heavy grayish-black door behind the stones. Zhang Kaishan took out the key, unlocked the door, and pushed it open. An underground tunnel illuminated by torches appeared in front of everyone. My lord. This is the safe passage. We can enter Kunt city directly if we walk forward from here. I can lead the way. After entering Kunt city, I will lead my men to kill all the surrounding slave guards. At that time, my lord can lead the army and rush forward to destroy those slave guards and occupy the entire Kunt city. Zhang Kaishan said excitedly. Bai Yi. Bring all the green bronze tier soldiers and go with him. After entering Kunt city, you must eliminate all the surrounding enemies immediately and let the subsequent soldiers enter safely. I'll get Nazario to cooperate with you. Zhou Zhou nodded and said to Bai Yi. He was not interested in subduing the slaves in Kunt city. The slaves of Kunt city had been completely brainwashed under the training of slave trainers. They were more loyal than those who were dead loyal. He could try to subdue some of them with incite defections if there were not many of them. However, it was better to eliminate them all to avoid future trouble. Yes. Bai Yi said respectfully. Then, she called Zhang Tsang and the other 5 green bronze tier intermediate grade soldiers and 19 green bronze tier elementary grade soldiers to follow her into the tunnel. After they entered, Zhou Zhou looked up at the sky. The black-red figure in the air seemed to have received an order. After letting out a dragon roar, it flew down from the sky and landed inside Kunt city with a bang. Scorching flames, lava spewing, terrified cries, and screams instantly sounded. A moment later, a fire vine arrow soared into the sky and exploded in the air, turning into dazzling sparks. All soldiers, enter the underground tunnel immediately. When Zhou Zhou saw Bai Yi's notification, he immediately ordered in a deep voice. Yes, my lord. All the soldiers immediately entered the underground passage in line. A moment later, when Zhou Zhou entered Kunt city through the underground tunnel, he saw the soldiers fighting with the slaves in simple equipment. Blood splattered everywhere. The ground was dyed red. The scene was extremely bloody. But fortunately, with the help of Nazario's dragon might, it was all his soldiers slaughtering the other party one-sidedly. These slave guards could not exert much strength at all and were easily dealt with by the soldiers. Seeing this scene, as a martial artist, especially a martial artist who had just learned martial arts manuals, Zhou Zhou could not help but feel his hands itching. Let's practice. Think of it as gaining some combat experience. He thought. There was no hesitation. If he did not dare to go forward to fight and practice under the support of the dragon might, he would not have the guts to be a lord. He immediately put on a low-grade bronze fire demon fog wolf outfit and rushed forward with a low-grade bronze sword shield soldier saber. When a green bronze tier intermediate grade slave captain saw him coming, he thought that he was an ordinary soldier who did not care about his life. A sinister smile immediately appeared on his face as he charged forward with his mace. The two sides quickly collided. The slave captain smashed down with his mace. Zhou Zhou twisted his body to dodge the blow. Bang! A half-meter deep pit was smashed into the ground. Zhou Zhou stared at him. Mental manipulation. The slave captain froze on the spot. He seized this opportunity. 13 gust slash. Swish 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 swish. 8 saber lights flashed again. The slave captain, who was wearing normal armor, fell to the ground weakly. Zhou Zhou glanced at his loots. Then, he fell silent. The loot only consisted of a black iron tier advanced grade mace and a black iron tier advanced grade armors other than the 4 green bronze tier mist cores and 1 green bronze tier aurora crystal, even though it a green bronze tier intermediate grade slave captain. He could not be bothered to stop to retrieve the loots and directly rushed towards the next enemy. Half an hour later. Kunt City gradually quietened down. Bai Yi began to send people to clean up the battlefield. Zhang Kaishan and Zhang Dahu began to gather the wealth in Kunt City. Both of them were Kunt's brothers when they were alive. Therefore, they knew where all the good stuff was hidden. After a while, Zhang Kaishan and Zhang Dahu walked over excitedly. My lord! All the spoils of war here have been sorted out. A total of 250,000 units of stone, 150,000 units of wood, 180,000 units of metal, and 160,000 units of fine sand have been found. There are 84,654 black iron tier mist cores, 1,521 green bronze tier mist cores, 101 white silver tier mist cores, and 5 yellow gold tier mist cores. Moreover, there are about 20,000 to 30,000 pieces of equipment from black iron tier to green bronze tier. 1 green bronze tier advanced grade dojo blueprint. 1 green bronze tier advanced grade kitchen blueprint. 3 green bronze tier intermediate grade woodworking room blueprints. 5 green bronze tier elementary grade blacksmith shop blueprints. Apart from that, we also captured 2 green bronze tier advanced grade martial masters. 3 green bronze tier advanced grade slave trainers. 5 green bronze tier advanced grade architects. 5 green bronze tier advanced grade blacksmiths. 11 green bronze tier intermediate grade chefs. In addition, there are 112 black iron rank life professionals. That is all the loots in Kunt City. In addition, there are also a portion of mist cores and many slaves in Fish Spring Town. I can bring them over at any time. Zhang Kaishan was fanatical and respectful. Zhang Dahu and gang had never expected their lord to have a dragon as his subordinate. When the dragon appeared in front of them, all the recruits, including them, were stunned. Is this the lord's true strength? We did not follow the wrong lord. They thought thankfully. Zhou Zhou was also very surprised when he heard the report. He had gained too much this time. In terms of the mist cores alone, it far exceeded the total gains he obtained from fighting the Scarlet Lord. Moreover, this was not the only real gain. The large number of buildings and the towering wall in Kunt City was also a very precious wealth. This was the benefit of occupying a local life form's territory. Zhou Zhou could not help but recall his previous experience of occupying the Scarlet Lord's territory and felt emotional. The Scarlet Lord's territories would not have these ready-made buildings. There would not be so many loots. Zhou Zhou was happy for quite some time because there was a habitable pyramid in the Sandman territory that he had conquered previously. The difference was like heaven and earth compared to the complete construction facilities of Kunt City. "Bring me to the territory tablet," Zhou Zhou said in a low voice after coming back to his senses. "Yes, my lord." The two of them said respectfully and led the way. Zhou Zhou followed behind them. Chapter 80 Capturing Kunt City. Dojo and Martial Master. Zhou Zhou saw the territory stone tablet in a lord's courtyard in no time. A full 100,000 durability meant that this was a green bronze tier advanced grade territory token. Zhou Zhou thought for a moment. He decided not to take the territory token but to leave it here. This was because he planned to occupy Kunt City and turn it into his second city outside of Blazing Sun City. If he chose to occupy, then, the territory token had to be kept in the territory. Otherwise, the buildings in the territory would lose their building effect and become self-built buildings. This was also why the territory token was the foundation of the territory. He stopped considering it. Zhou Zhou placed his hand on the stone tablet. Soon, a line of text appeared just as he received the 50 green bronze tier aurora crystals. Boxen OVL. COM, do you choose to occupy Kunt City? Yes. He said. Occupation successful. Congratulations, you have become the Lord of Kunt City, green bronze tier advanced grade territory. Vassal territory panel has been activated. You can check the information of your vassal territory on the Vassal Territory panel. Open the Vassal Territory interface. Zhou Zhou thought. The next second. A golden virtual interface appeared in front of him. Vassal Territory name, Kunt City, changeable, Main City, Blazing Sun City, Vassal Territory grade, Green Bronze Tier Advanced grade, Territory, 20,000 m times 20,000 m times 5,000 m. Territory buildings, Lord's Courtyard, Green Bronze Tier Advanced Grade, X1, Dojo, Green Bronze Tier Advanced Grade, X1, Warehouse, Green Bronze Tier Advanced Grade, X2, Kitchen, Green Bronze Tier Advanced Grade, X5, Blacksmith Shop, Green Bronze Tier Elementary Grade, X3. Dormitory, Black Iron Tier Elementary Grade, X511, Zhou Zhou took a glance and nodded in satisfaction. The building list was full, which was pleasing to the eye. If not for the fact that the territory token could not be moved, which made it so that the location of the main city could not be changed, he even wanted to move Blazing Sun City here. He did not like the name, so he changed Kunt City to Desolate City. In the future, I can try to use Desolate City as a springboard to conquer the entire desolate Gobi region. Zhou Zhou thought. Then, he looked at Zhang Kaishan and Zhang Dahu, who had been waiting respectfully at the side. He thought for a few seconds before sitting down. You two, come here. Zhou Zhou said. Zhang Kaishan and Zhang Dahu exchanged glances before they immediately walked over. I'm going to check your memories. Don't resist no matter what abnormalities you feel. It'll be over soon. Don't worry. There's no danger. Zhou Zhou said. Check their memories. Both men paled. However, they didn't say anything. They just lowered their heads silently. When Zhou Zhou saw this, he immediately activated his mental perception skill. This enhanceable racial skill could only sense others' vague thoughts at the beginning. However, as Zhou Zhou's strength increased, for example when he was at Black Iron Tier Advanced grade, he could gradually sense the other party's clearer thoughts. Now, he was already at the Green Bronze Tier Elementary grade. His mental perception skill could even begin to sense the memories in the other party's mind. He wondered what would happen in the future. Zhou Zhou was looking forward to it. A moment later, after sensing their memories, a look of surprise flashed across Zhou Zhou's eyes. In their memories, he realized that they did not do much evil to the slaves while the two of them were Kunt's helpers. Zhang Dahu's memories were even a little funny. He was arranged by Kunt to be a spy among the slaves, specially in charge of reporting on restless slaves. After a long time, these thousands of slaves did not realize that their companions who were suffering with them were actually arranged by the slave owners. Zhang Kaishan's experience was relatively easy. He was Kunt's real fighter. They were in charge of dealing with Kunt's guests who wanted to harm him or other factions that were at odds with Kunt. Occasionally, he would use force to intimidate the slaves, but not often. At most, he would beat and scold them. However, that was because Kunt felt that slaves were wealth. Therefore, he was not allowed to hit or scold too much to prevent disabling the slaves. Zhou Zhou could not help clicking his tongue in wonder. These two people were considered clean. This was exactly what he wanted. He also did not want scums to be his subordinate. I was just checking your memories because I wanted to see if you guys are qualified to take on a big responsibility. From the looks of it, you barely qualified. Zhou Zhou said. The two of them heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, they were curious about what Zhou Zhou was talking about. Do you know why I asked you to accept Kunt's slave organization? Zhou Zhou asked. My lord, also wants to get involved in the slave industry? Zhang Kaishan probed. I have no interest in the slave trade. The reason why I asked you to accept Kunt's slave organization is very simple. I want you to sell them all. Change it to real mist cores. Zhou Zhou said. He did not have a good impression of this industry when he was on the Cerulean planet. He might be in a different world now, but the preferences in his heart remained unchanged. In addition, he was not short of people now. In the future, he could also plunder the population of other lords through war. Therefore, he was even less interested in running the slave industry. Mist cores were a real transaction currency on the high continent. There was no harm in getting more. Zhang Kaishan and his brother suddenly understood. We brothers will definitely sell Kunt's slave industry as soon as possible. Zhang Kaishan said respectfully. Zhang Dahu nodded vigorously too. Zhou Zhou acknowledged. After selling all the businesses in Kunt, I plan to let you two brothers manage this city. You're the most familiar with this place after all. But I won't be moving people here for the time being. I'll only leave you 1,000 new recruits to guard this empty city. I will be attacking the Scarlet Lord forces in the desolate Gobi sometime soon. When the time comes, the soldiers I brought should live in this city for the time being. Zhou Zhou said. He had no choice but to get them to guard this empty city. Blazing Sun City was undergoing rapid development. Most subjects had their own jobs in Blazing Sun City. It was impossible for them to leave. In addition, he would bring troops out to fight almost every day. Therefore he could not send too many soldiers over. Otherwise, just mobilizing the soldiers of the two territories every day would waste a lot of development time. That was not what Zhou Zhou wanted to see. Therefore, they could only let the two of them lead some soldiers to temporarily guard this empty city. In the future, when Blazing Sun City had so many subjects that it could no longer accommodate them, he would move the additional subjects here. We won't let the Lord down. We will protect the Lord's city to our death. When Zhang Kaishan and his brother heard Zhou Zhou's words, they knelt on the ground excitedly. They dare not even dream of such a good thing. As two newbies who had just joined Blazing Sun City, they were actually directly entrusted with such an important responsibility by the Lord. How much trust did he entrust them with? Keep this city safe. Don't use your power to do whatever you want. You won't have to see me again if I hear anything like that happening. Zhou Zhou said calmly. With peace and prosperity around, their loyalty would increase sooner or later. Therefore, Zhou Zhou was not worried that the two of them would betray him just because he wasn't physically here. Yes, my lord. The two of them hurriedly said. At the same time, they warned themselves to be a good city lord and not disappoint their lord. Seeing this, Zhou Zhou did not stay any longer. He turned around and walked out of the lord's courtyard. A moment later. The Gust Dojo. This should be the only green bronze tier advanced grade dojo in Desolate City. Kunt, Zhang Kaishan, and the others' Gust Blade should belong to the martial master of this dojo. Zhou Zhou looked at the green building in front of him and thought. At this moment, a middle-aged man with a mustache walked out with his luggage. The moment he came out, he saw Zhou Zhou. "You are," he asked carefully. "I am the Lord of the Blazing Sun. Are you the martial master of this dojo?" Zhou Zhou asked. "Greetings, my lord. My name is Li Si. I'm the martial master and owner of Gust Dojo." When Li Si heard Zhou Zhou's title of lord, he hurriedly said respectfully. Zhou Zhou nodded slightly. "Are you preparing to move to Blazing Sun City?" he asked. "Yes, my lord," Li Si said. "Don't worry about living there. When you get there, I'll naturally get someone to build another dojo for you. The Blazing Sun City will not mistreat any subject. But when the time comes, I'll leave the martial arts cultivation of Blazing Sun City's subjects to you martial masters. You're gonna have to work harder." Zhou Zhou said. "My lord, you're being too serious." "I will do my best," Li Si said respectfully. Zhou Zhou acknowledged. Then, he looked at the building information of this dojo. Construction name, dojo, territory level, green bronze tier advanced grade, construction effect, a professional place for ordinary people to change their profession to martial artist, learn martial arts manuals, and cultivate martial arts. There is a built-in martial arts cultivation room. Cultivate in the martial arts cultivation room. Martial arts comprehension +2, cultivation efficiency +20%, promotion energy obtained by an additional 20%. Current maximum number of available job changers, 11/100, construction upgrade, 1,000 units of wood, 1,000 units of fine sand, 1,000 units of metal, 1,000 units of stone, 20 white silver tier mist core, 1 white silver tier elementary grade dojo blueprint. Zhou Zhou nodded in satisfaction. From now on, the subjects in his territory could also change their occupation to martial artists. Moreover, this dojo was indeed a place for martial artists to cultivate. The construction effect was indeed not bad. "I'll make one when we get back," he thought. "My lord." Bai Yi's voice came from afar at this moment. Then, she quickly arrived in front of Zhou Zhou. "My lord, the battlefield has been cleaned up. We have collected a total of 5,124 enemy corpses and have already dripped golden corpse water on them. Should we transport all these corpses back to Blazing Sun City?" Bai Yi asked. "No need. Let's do it here." Zhou Zhou thought for a moment and said. It was a waste of time to transport more than 5,000 corpses back and forth. Moreover, the 3 conquerors' blast furnaces were in his spatial ring. It was a good opportunity to see their effects. Chapter 81 Wallsand Crystal Wall. New Equipment Exchange. In an empty space in the desolate city, 5,214 golden corpses were placed on the ground surrounded by soldiers from Blazing Sun City. Zhou Zhou was standing in front of these corpses. He looked at them and waved his right hand. 3 fiery red blast furnaces that were 5 to 6 meters tall appeared beside him out of thin air. They were 3 green bronze tier elementary grade conquerors furnaces. Zhou Zhou walked to the first conqueror blast furnace and opened its energy slot. He placed a green bronze tier mist core inside. Then, he closed the energy slot and placed his right hand on the activation button at the side. Wisps of energy flowed into the button through his right hand. Buzz! The conqueror's blast furnace shook slightly. Zhou Zhou immediately felt a scorching energy surge out. Boxen OVL. COM. He did the same and activated the remaining 2 conquerors' blast furnaces immediately after. When Bai Yi saw this scene, she immediately got the soldiers to carry the corpses and climb up the ladder to the top of the conqueror's blast furnace. Then, they threw the corpses inside. Zhou Zhou looked at the first corpse that was thrown in. This corpse was the corpse of a black iron tier intermediate grade slave guard. The loots he could drop were 4 black iron tier mist cores and a black iron tier elementary grade machete. After it was thrown into the blast furnace. Boom, boom, boom. The conqueror's blast furnace emitted a sound like a steam engine, and wisps of heat appeared above the blast furnace. Soon, on the assembly line below, 4 black iron tier mist cores and a black iron tier elementary grade machete appeared. Zhou Zhou might already be prepared, but he was still a little excited that his 100% drop rate could really be replicated through the conqueror's blast furnace. He immediately realized the importance of this matter. At the very best, he would no longer have to be a tool to retrieve the loots in the future. He would have more time to slack off. But at the worst, if others obtained the conqueror's blast furnace that had been activated with his own energy, then the other party would obtain a 100% drop rate within an hour. If word got out, how many life forms in the high continent would go crazy? The conqueror's blast furnace activated by my energy must only be used by me. My lord talent can't be reduced to a tool for others to grow. Zhou Zhou thought to himself. In the time that followed, a large number of corpses were thrown into the conqueror's blast furnace, then turned into more loot and sent out of the assembly line. An hour later, the energy in the 3 conquerors' blast furnaces were completely exhausted. In contrast, a total of 3,125 corpses were converted into a mountain of loot under the 100% drop rate. After that, Zhou Zhou placed a new green bronze tier mist core on the conqueror's blast furnaces and activated them again with his own energy. Soon, they began to operate again. Half an hour later, all the corpses turned into loot. After tidying up, there were 15,618 black iron tier mist cores, 4,074 green bronze tier mist cores and 1,091 green bronze tier aurora crystals. 4,123 pieces of black iron tier equipment, black iron tier elementary, intermediate and advanced grade. 2,370 green bronze tier equipment, green bronze tier elementary, intermediate and advanced grade. Zhou Zhou looked at the loots and fell into deep thought. If this was in the past, it would take him at least a day to extract so many loots. It was completed in less than 2 hours now that he had the conqueror's blast furnace. This money is well spent. Zhou Zhou was very satisfied. The harvest of the aurora crystals also surprised him. Under his 100% drop rate, every green bronze tier aurora human could drop one of these strategic resources. As a result, he now had 1,091 of them. Even the Aurora Kingdom's king would be dumbfounded when he saw this. Only I can do this. Zhou Zhou sighed. After that, he put away all the loot and left 1,000 recruits for the 2 brothers to guard the desolate city. He left another 5,000 black iron tier mist cores and 1,000 green bronze tier mist cores for the daily expenses of more than 1,000 of them. In the end, Zhou Zhou and Bai Yi brought the remaining soldiers and life professions back to Blazing Sun City. Time passed quickly. The sky gradually darkened. Scarlet fog had already begun to appear in the air. Just as Zhou Zhou and the others were about to reach Blazing Sun City, Bai Yi suddenly saw something and pointed at Blazing Sun City in the distance excitedly. "My lord, look!" Zhou Zhou looked over and immediately widened his eyes. 4 grayish-white walls that were 25 meters tall and 1,000 meters long stood in a square around Blazing Sun City not far away. They surrounded the territory within 1,000 meters of Blazing Sun City tightly and were unbreakable. The green bronze tier advanced grade Aurora Tower stood on the upper left side of the city wall. The slowly rotating hexagonal crystal at the top of the tower emitted a faint white light. It was as if it was telling any enemy who dared to approach that they would be punished by the Aurora. When they got closer, a text notification immediately appeared in front of Zhou Zhou. Building name, Wall Sand Crystal Wall, Construction Level, Green Bronze Tier Advanced Grade, Wall Defense Range, 1000 m x 1000 m x 25 m, Total Cubic Meters of the Wall, 100,000 cubic meters, 12,276 cubic meters of sand crystal-shaped city wall, 87,724 cubic meters of ordinary wall. Defense Facilities, Aurora Tower, Green Bronze Tier Advanced Grade, X1, Guard Tower, Gradeless, X4, City Corner Arrow Tower, Gradeless, X12, Pure Iron City Gate X1. Building Effect, Territory's basic defense facilities, used to resist the invasion of enemies from the outside world. After adding sand crystal, the black iron tier material, it mutated into a sand crystal city wall. Wall defense plus 50%, earthquake resistance plus 50%, winter warm summer cool building effect plus 1. Construction upgrade, all ordinary walls need to be replaced with sand crystal walls before you can continue upgrading. Building description, the newly built wall of Blazing Sun City. Even though it is very strong, it has yet to experience the impact of enemies from the outside world. The more Zhou Zhou looked at it, the more pleasantly surprised he became. This was exactly the same as the wall of his dream. The Lord is back. At this moment, a familiar voice came from not far away. Zhou Zhou looked over. He realized that it was Zhao Changshu and the others. Soon, Zhao Changshu walked over. "Greetings, my lord," he said respectfully. "Elder Zhao, there's no need to be so polite. You've done a great service today. I'm finally relieved with this sand crystal wall," Zhou Zhou said sincerely. "It's not just me. This old man is just moving my mouth at most. The real hardship is the soldiers and subjects who help build the wall." Zhao Changshu shook his head. "Don't worry, Elder Zhao. I've already asked the military officials to record everyone's contributions over the past few days. All of your hard work will not be in vain." Zhou Zhou nodded. A smile finally appeared on Zhao Changshu's face. "Actually, this city wall is only the initial construction. There's still room for strengthening in the future. First, there's the problem of the sand crystal wall. Only a little more than 10% of the walls in this city wall are sand crystal walls. The rest are ordinary walls. We can reforge the other ordinary city walls into sand crystal walls when the sand crystals are replenished in the future. Next is the thickness of the city wall. It's only a meter thick now. We can still thicken it tomorrow. Finally, the city wall defense facilities. One Aurora Tower is still a little too little. However, in building the second Aurora Tower, it should be completed tomorrow. My lord, I have something to report to you. This sand crystal wall has already consumed all the sand crystals and 400,000 units of basic materials. There are not many basic materials left. If I want to continue strengthening the city wall, I have to replenish a large amount of sand crystals and basic materials," Zhao Changshu said. Zhou Zhou was not surprised. He had already considered the consumption of building the wall. This result was similar to what he had calculated. "Leave this to me. Coincidentally, we brought back a batch of basic materials and aurora crystals this time. Elder Zhao, just use them when you need them. As for the sand crystals, they can only be obtained at the monster ranches tomorrow," Zhou Zhou said. Zhao Changshu nodded. Zhou Zhou did not say anything else after that. He took out the basic materials and aurora crystals and handed them to Elder Zhao. Then, he opened the exchange and set up a transaction for more than 29,000 black iron tier and green bronze tier equipment that he had obtained from the desolate city. These equipment were all worn by slaves, and the effect of the equipment was not as good as the standard equipment of soldiers of the same level. Now that Zhou Zhou's standards were a little high, he naturally looked down on these equipment. It was better to sell them directly and exchange them for a large number of basic materials. Soon, a large number of lords discovered the deal that Zhou Zhou had just announced. There were more than 29,000 pieces of equipment, making every lord dumbfounded. A moment later, this transaction ranked first in the number of transaction views at a rocket-like speed. The lords of the World Channel also exploded at the same time because of this deal. Chapter 82 10 million units of basic materials. You call this explaining briefly? Fuck. What did I see? More than 29,000 pieces of equipment. I opened the Lord of the Blazing Sun's dictionary. On every page is the word ridiculous, and there are no other words in this dictionary. Lord of the Blazing Sun. The forever God. Ever since I found out about the Lord of the Blazing Sun, I guess I can only use scissors to punch because the Blazing Sun is my punching bag one. Sundra face, heaven-defying. Why does such a sick lord appear every time a topic related to the Lord of the Blazing Sun appears on the World Channel? What's wrong with the World Channel? It's heaven-defying. I'm the only normal person. Sundra face, woohoo. I've been worrying about how to arm my subjects before the Novice Lord test. Big Boss Blazing Sun's equipment came at the right time. I want to arm my subjects +1. Sigh, I've been blocked by Big Boss Blazing Sunday. I can only look at these equipment. I can't buy them even if I want to. Big Boss Blazing Sun's blacklist is so terrifying, Boxen OVL. COM, more than 29,000 pieces of equipment don't look like they were forged by him. They should be looted. This makes me wonder how strong Big Boss Blazing Sun is. This amount of equipment, that can only be obtained from loots of a battle of at least 1,000. I boldly speculate that the Lord of the Blazing Sun already has more than 1,000 soldiers. 1,000 soldiers? Really? The humble me revealed a poor smile looking at the 30 subjects in my territory. At the same time, the Dragon Lady Lord, the Undead Lord, the Overlord Lord, and the other top-notch lords who were either hiding or had already revealed themselves had also seen Zhou Zhou's equipment transaction. They were all in disbelief. However, they had to admit one thing looking at the genuine 29,000-odd pieces of equipment. The Lord of the Blazing Sun had become stronger again. This made them feel a little anxious. However, as top-notch lords, they quickly adjusted their mentalities. That is because they knew that urgency was useless. The better choice was to develop themselves with all their might. They all believed in one thing in their hearts. As long as the position of the Lord of all races was not confirmed, everything was still unknown. On the other hand, Zhou Zhou set the price for these 29,000 pieces of equipment. The price range of each black iron tier equipment was between 40 units of basic materials and 200 units of basic materials. The price range of each green bronze tier equipment was between 400 units of basic materials and 2,000 units of basic materials. It was 50% higher than the market price. However, there were billions of lords in the exchange. Zhou Zhou was not worried that no one would buy his equipment. That was indeed the case. Half an hour later, all of the equipment was sold. This was even when Zhou Zhou limited the number of equipment any single lord could buy. He looked at the transaction results. Results: about 3.5 million units of wood, about 2.9 million units of fine sand, about 3.1 million units of metal, and about 2.6 million units of stone. A smile appeared on Zhou Zhou's face. There were more than 12.1 million units of basic materials. If other lords saw this transaction outcome, wouldn't they be dumbfounded? He could build ordinary walls to his heart's content with so many basic materials, even though he could not build a sand crystal city wall. He walked out of the lord's courtyard without hesitation and found Elder Zhao, who was commanding the construction of the Aurora Tower in the territory. Then, he opened the exchange and took out all 12. 1,000,000 odd units of basic materials and placed them together according to categories. Fortunately, the things in the exchange could be controlled with his mind. Otherwise, Zhou Zhou would not be able to take out so many basic materials even if he worked himself to death. For small mountains soon appeared in front of Zhao Changshu. His eyes widened. Elder Zhao. I'll leave these materials to you. Thicken the wall where it's not thick enough. Use the materials if you have to. There's no need to save. Zhou Zhou said generously. In that case, I'll do my best. Zhao Changshu chuckled after coming back to his senses. Zhou Zhou acknowledged. After that, the two of them chatted for a while before Zhao Changshu went back to work. He had already decided not to sleep tonight. It was enough for him to be busy for the entire night, be it building the monster ranches or the Aurora Tower. Fortunately, he was a white platinum tier intermediate grade architect. His physical fitness far exceeded that of ordinary people. He would have died long ago if he was an ordinary old man. Seeing this, Zhou Zhou also planned to leave. However, he suddenly remembered something. I have yet to use today's quota for the return to the city talent. Zhou Zhou fell into deep thought. He might as well use it now. In any case, he probably wouldn't go out again tonight and wouldn't encounter any danger. He could test the specific effect of this Black Iron Tier Lord talent. Return to the city. After making up his mind, Zhou Zhou stood where he was and suddenly said, the next second. Two virtual 3D terrain maps suddenly appeared in his mind. One of them was bigger than the other. The larger one was a 3D virtual terrain map of the blazing sun desert. The smaller one was the virtual 3D terrain map of the desolate city that he had just taken in as a subsidiary territory today. Zhou Zhou quickly realized that he could enlarge or shrink them with his mind. Moreover, he could directly go to the place he wanted to go when he chooses any one of the two virtual 3D terrain maps with the thought of going to this place. However, this choice had to be completed in 5 seconds. If it was more than 5 seconds and he did not choose the place he wanted to go, it would be considered a failure and he would have to use it again. So this is how return to the city is used. Doesn't that mean, if I have my own territory in every place in the high continent in the future, then I can completely rely on this Black Iron Tier Lord talent to appear anywhere in the high continent? Even if I can't do it, I can also use this Lord talent to appear in any territory under my command. While it can only be used once a day currently, I might be able to increase the number of times I can use it if I use the Lord Talent Origin Divine Crystal to upgrade this Lord talent. Zhou Zhou immediately thought with excitement. He did not expect this simple return to the city talent to have potential to be unearthed. Then, he stopped thinking so much about it and chose the Lord's courtyard. He chose to zoom in. Soon, the living room scene in the Lord's courtyard appeared in front of him. Zhou Zhou had the thought of going to the living room. The next second, his entire body suddenly became illusory. Then, his vision suddenly darkened. Another second passed. When the scene appeared in front of Zhou Zhou again, he realized that he was already standing in the living room. Not only that, he even felt that his physical condition was recovering rapidly. Originally, he had brought his soldiers to attack the territory of the Sandman Lord, then to Fish Spring Town, and finally to capture Desolate City. After this series of events, he still felt some physical and mental fatigue even though he was already at the Green Bronze Tier elementary grade. But now, Zhou Zhou felt that his mental state and physical state were beginning to recover at an astonishing speed. 10 seconds later, he felt full of energy again. Is this the effect of triggering a 50% recovery of physical state in 10 seconds after returning to the city? Zhou Zhou reacted. At this moment, he suddenly thought of something and fell silent. He originally wanted to rest and sleep after a while. He felt that he might not be able to sleep tonight now that he had returned to the city. My lord, Zheng Yuanqi requests an audience. Just as Zhou Zhou was worried about how he would sleep tonight, Zheng Yuanqi's voice came from outside the door. Zhou Zhou was stunned. Then, he stood up and walked out of the Lord's courtyard to bring Elder Zheng into the living room. "Have a seat, Elder Zheng. Why are you here so late?" he asked doubtfully. "My lord. I came here late at night to report some problems I discovered in the territory and want to discuss concrete solutions." After Zheng Yuanqi sat down, he went straight to the point. "So that's what it is. Elder Zheng, just say what you want." Zhou Zhou nodded. "Then let me explain briefly. The first is the military merit exchange system. Currently, even though the military contribution exchange system in the Blazing Sun Army has been established, its system is still relatively rough. There are many details that need to be perfected. This is a small problem. I can solve it. The second is the problem of the contribution exchange system for the life professionals and the unemployed. The soldiers already have their own military merit exchange system. Then it's best if the subjects of the life professions and the unemployed have a corresponding contribution points exchange system. Let the life professions and unemployed subjects earn contribution points by contributing to the territory and exchange for the items they need. This will be good for the people and the territory. This is not my personal opinion. Most forces above the empire level, other than a few, implemented both exchange systems at the same time. My lord, if you agree, I can design a system of exchange for contribution points since I'm more familiar with this." "Of course I agree. Then you'll have to trouble Elder Zheng." Zhou Zhou acknowledged. "My lord, you're too kind. This is my duty." The fourth problem is, even though many people in Blazing Sun City have already begun to be in charge of the specific work in Blazing Sun City, they don't have clear official titles and a system of official positions yet. The official position system of the territory is an indispensable part of the territory's development. This aspect has to be perfected. I'm also very familiar with this. I can help design an official position system in Blazing Sun City. The fifth problem is the ratio of men to women in Blazing Sun City. Currently, there are nearly 7,000 subjects in the territory. The ratio between men and women has already reached an astonishing 7-to-1. This is already quite unhealthy. In your words, my lord, the yang energy is too strong. In the future, my lord can absorb more female subjects to the territory when the territory expands to accommodate new subjects. Zhou Zhou acknowledged. This was simple. The easiest thing to obtain in a lord war was population. He would just have to pay attention when the time came. Zheng Yuanqi continued after seeing Zhou Zhou nod. The sixth is the lack of buildings in the territory. But this is a small problem. I know Zhao Changshu. He's quite reliable. With him and the help of the other subjects, the buildings in our territory can be built sooner or later. It's just going to be a little tougher now. The seventh problem is food type. Half an hour later. Zhou Zhou fell into deep thought as he looked at Zheng Yuanqi, who was still talking non-stop. You call this explaining briefly? Chapter 83 Lords Gathering Together for Strength. Zhao Changshu's advancement. Another half an hour passed. This subordinate will stop here for now about the enactment of the territorial laws. Zheng Yuanqi stroked his beard, still looking a little unsatisfied, after mentioning the 23rd area that he thought needed to be perfected. Zhou Zhou nodded with a numb expression. Elder Zheng might have spoken for an extended period of time. But it had to be said. That the problems he was talking about were indeed real problems in his territory. He could not help but feel a headache. There are so many problems. When will they be resolved? My lord, don't worry. Our Blazing Sun City has only been established for a short period of time, and our development speed is too fast. Boxen OVL. These problems will definitely appear under such circumstances. That's not a bad thing. On the contrary. If the problem is exposed, it means that we still have time and opportunity to correct it. Blazing Sun City will be reborn after these problems are corrected. If we don't correct it, you'll really have a headache when it's too late to correct it. Zheng Yuanqi seemed to have seen through Zhou Zhou's dilemma and comforted him. Zhou Zhou nodded. My lord, I have a request. Zheng Yuanqi suddenly said. What is it? Zhou Zhou was stunned. It's a little difficult for me to resolve the problems in these territories alone, and it will take a long time. Therefore, I want to choose some people from the territory to be my assistants and help me solve them. I wonder if my lord can agree to that. Zheng Yuanqi said respectfully. Elder Zheng, don't worry. Just tell me if you see anyone that can help you in our territory. Even I can help you as long as it can make Blazing Sun City better. Zhou Zhou agreed without hesitation. If it was any other lord facing Zheng Yuanqi's request, the lord might become suspicious because he seems to be forming his own ally team. However, to Zhou Zhou, Zheng Yuanqi was a talent attracted by his reputation rating. His loyalty was very high to begin with. Coupled with the peace and prosperity Diamond Tier Lord talent, he did not have to worry about his loyalty. Therefore, Zhou Zhou was completely willing to let go and let him do this with all his might. Thank you, my lord. Zheng Yuanqi looked at Zhou Zhou with a different gaze, hearing Zhou Zhou agree without hesitation. At the same time, a notification that the other party's loyalty had increased appeared in front of Zhou Zhou. Towards this, Zhou Zhou only smiled and did not say anything. After that, the two of them chatted for a while before Zheng Yuanqi left. Zhou Zhou looked at the other party's back as he left. He thought about the suggestion the other party had just mentioned and felt a headache coming on. He suddenly understood something. It is important to know one's limits. They'll just leave it to you. It is more reliable to leave these things to professionals. He stopped thinking about it and returned to the master bedroom to rest. The next morning. In the master bedroom. Zhou Zhou lay on the bed and looked at the ceiling above with wide eyes. He didn't sleep all night. There was no other reason. He was too energetic and he could not sleep at all. I'm indeed not at the age to sleep, he comforted himself. At this moment, a ray of morning light shone in through the window. It's the 7th day. The Novice Lord test is tomorrow. Zhou Zhou thought to himself when he saw this. Then, he opened the Cerulean Planet Lord World channel. Then, he saw the blood-red countdown at first glance. Countdown, 23 hours, 15 minutes, 11 seconds, time was ticking away. A vast number of lords were discussing the Novice Lord test tomorrow below the countdown. Tomorrow is the Novice Lord test. I'm so excited that my entire body is trembling. Are you sure it's because you're trembling from excitement and not because you're afraid? The Novice Lord test is finally coming. I realize that I'm suddenly not afraid anymore. Come quickly. Give me a quick answer no matter whether I live or die. Brothers, is it too late to give up my status as a lord and change my profession to an adventurer? I have an adventurer subject who said that being an adventurer is actually very dangerous. It's not as safe as you think. I advise everyone who wants to change their profession to an adventurer to consider it carefully and not make a mistake. I'm dying of laughter. You still want to retreat at a time like this? I just summoned today's subjects. I already have 15 professions, one of which is a Black Iron Tier Advanced Grade Spearman. Big Shot, can you tell me if I can pass tomorrow's Novice Lord test with my current strength? Don't ask. Asking is taboo. My territory is in the Lone Wolf territory of the Gale Kingdom. Is there a Big Shot nearby who can help me during the Novice Lord test? My territory is in the snowy plains of the Flying Snow Kingdom. To any Big Shot that is willing to help me in the Novice Lord test tomorrow, I guarantee that I will follow your lead in the future. I'm the same. Can any Big Shot come and help me after passing the Novice Lord test? My territory is the Black Moon Mountain range of the Twilight Kingdom. I'm in the Glazed Kingdom, I'm in the Bright Moon Kingdom, no one knew who started it. Suddenly, a large number of lords were crazily exposing the location of their territory on the World Channel. What they wanted to express was surprisingly unanimous. That was to gather together for strength. They all wanted to find the other human lords around the territory and unite all the forces that could be united. Then, they wanted to use this power to pass the novice lord test tomorrow. Gathering for strength? That's a method too. When Zhou Zhou saw this, he could not help but raise his eyebrows. However, he was not interested in this method. The high continent was huge. It was too difficult to encounter other cerulean planet lords. He had only encountered two until now. One of them was Lord Mighty, who was destroyed by him. The second one had already given up his status as a lord and changed his profession to an adventurer. Zhou Zhou no longer had much hope that there was still a cerulean planet lord around his territory. He stopped looking. Zhou Zhou closed the world channel and walked out of the lord's courtyard. He came to the gate of summoning and began his daily summoning. A text notification appeared. Prompt: do you want to summon immediately? Yes. Zhou Zhou said. He could summon 54 new subjects every day now that he was at the Green Bronze Tier Intermediate grade. And there must be 6 professionals among them. He was looking forward to it. The next second, the gate of summoning suddenly lit up with a bright white light, and 54 subjects walked out. Greetings, my lord, X-54. After the 54 new subjects came out, they immediately bowed respectfully when they saw Zhou Zhou. Welcome to Blazing Sun City. Zhou Zhou smiled and nodded. Then, he opened their personal information and began to check them. A moment later, the inspection was completed. Among these 54 people, there were 34 male subjects and 20 female subjects. There were a total of 8 professionals. Among them were 1 Green Bronze Tier Intermediate grade archer and 1 Green Bronze Tier Intermediate grade carpenter. There was also 1 Green Bronze Tier Elementary grade doctor, 2 Green Bronze Tier Elementary grade sword shield soldiers, 2 Black Iron Tier Advanced grade tailors, and 1 Black Iron Tier Elementary grade blacksmith. This is still acceptable. Zhou Zhou thought. Then, he asked these 54 people to look for Jing Yuanqi and ask him to assign them to their respective places. My lord. I've already completed the upgrade of the monster ranches with Mu Gu. At this moment, Zhao Changshou quickly walked over from afar and arrived in front of Zhou Zhou. Zhou Zhou was about to say that he wanted to go to the monster ranches to take a look. Then, he saw the obvious joy on Zhao Changshu's face. He immediately thought of something and opened his attribute panel. Then, he saw that Zhao Changshu's architect level had shockingly advanced from the White Platinum Tier Intermediate grade to White Platinum Tier Advanced grade. Chapter 84 Green Bronze Tier Intermediate grade Monster Ranches. Elder Zhao, you've advanced. Zhou Zhou looked at him in surprise. Zhao Changshu smiled and nodded. I was lucky to advance. The Monster Ranch is indeed a special building. With it, I've finally been promoted to a White Platinum Tier Advanced grade architect. I didn't expect this. I've spent more than 10 years in the Aurora Kingdom without being able to achieve this. I didn't expect to advance successfully in just a few days. I made the right choice coming here. I have no regrets in this life now that I've reached the limit of my potential while I'm still alive. Boxen OVL. Zhao Changshu sighed with emotion. Then, he looked at Zhou Zhou. My lord, you can hand any White Platinum Tier Advanced grade building blueprints to me in the future if you encounter them. I can learn blueprints of this level now. He said. Okay. Zhou Zhou immediately agreed. He could tell that Elder Zhao's happy expression was mixed with an imperceptible loneliness. It was a good thing that his strength had reached the limit of his potential. However, from another perspective, it also meant that this person had no other possibility of advancing. Wasn't this also a pity? Zhou Zhou did not say anything. After congratulating him, he came to the monster ranches with him. In front of the monster ranches. "Greetings, my lord." Mu Gu, who had been waiting at the entrance of the monster ranches, immediately walked up to Zhou Zhou and said respectfully when he saw them arrive. Zhou Zhou nodded and opened the other party's attribute panel. Subject, Mu Gu, Territory, Blazing Sun City, Life Profession, Monster Rancher, Profession Class, Green Bronze Tier Intermediate Grade, Battle Class Name, Monster Shepherd, Strength Level, Green Bronze Tier Intermediate Grade, Ability Overview, same as before, Skills, Special Building, Monster Ranch, Green Bronze Tier Intermediate Grade, Fog Monster, Communication, Green Bronze Tier Intermediate Grade, Fog Monster, Taming, Green Bronze Tier Intermediate Grade, Fog Monster. Control, Green Bronze Tier Intermediate Grade, Fog Monster, Berserk, Green Bronze Tier Intermediate Grade, Fog Monster, Appease, Green Bronze Tier Intermediate Grade, Loyalty, Dead Loyal, Potential, Diamond Tier Advanced Grade. Zhou Zhou nodded in satisfaction. At the same time, he was a little envious. His advancement in strength and skills only required the territory level to increase. It was simply much easier than his advancement method. "How much has your ability increased?" Zhou Zhou stopped thinking about it and asked. "I've something to report, my lord. After I advance to the Green Bronze Tier Intermediate Grade Monster Rancher and Monster Shepherd, I can already manage 5 Green Bronze Tier Intermediate Grade Monster Ranches at the same time. Moreover, the upper limit of the number of nurturing per monster ranch has increased from 750 to 1000. The upper limit of the strength of the fog monsters that can be nurtured has also increased from Green Bronze Tier Elementary Grade to Green Bronze Tier Intermediate Grade. And yesterday, Elder Zhao, the soldiers, and I have upgraded the original 3 Green Bronze Tier Elementary Grade Monster Ranches to Green Bronze Tier Intermediate Grade Monster Ranches. Moreover, we built an additional Green Bronze Tier Intermediate Grade Monster Ranch that has yet to be placed with monsters as a backup in the future. A total of 60,000 units of basic materials, 600 green bronze mist cores, and 1 origin crystal has been consumed. Mu Gu reported respectfully. Zhou Zhou acknowledged. This rate of consumption, other than origin crystals, was nothing to him now. Then, he looked at the 4 brand new monster ranches. They were 50% bigger than the original Green Bronze Tier Elementary Grade Monster Ranch. At the same time, their architectural style was even more ancient than before. On the surface of its fence were even some cravings of unknown monsters. 3 of the monster ranches had already nurtured 1,000 desert fog lizards, 1,000 black-tailed fog scorpions, and 1,000 sandmen. The last monster ranch that had just been built was still empty because no new monsters had moved in for the time being. Zhou Zhou was satisfied. His daily fixed income had increased again. After that, Zhao Changshu wanted to continue building the Aurora Tower. Zhou Zhou hurriedly stopped him. "Elder Zhao, you haven't slept for a day and night. You should rest," he said sincerely. "At my age, I feel that it's already very rare. Moreover, I just broke through and am at my peak. I can't sleep at all even if you ask me to rest. Why don't you let me vent my energy? This way, I can rest better after I'm done." Zhao Changshu directly refused. Zhou Zhou tried to persuade him a few more times, but he could not persuade this old man at all. In the end, he could only watch helplessly as he walked in the direction of the Aurora Tower. Zhou Zhou was a little speechless. Are all the old people in the high continent so fierce? After that, Zhou Zhou got someone to look for Bai Yi and asked her to bring all the soldiers to the monster ranches to deal with these 3,000 fog monsters. A moment later, in front of the monster ranches, Zhou Zhou and Bai Yi stood at the front. Nazario lay lazily nearby. In front of them were 4,970 soldiers. including the 1,000 soldiers left in the desolate city. I have 5,970 soldiers under my command now. Zhou Zhou looked at the soldiers in front of him, his heart filled with ambition. Then, they began to clear these monsters. It was the same old rules. Nazario first released its dragon might to intimidate these 3,000 monsters. Then, Bai Yi asked the soldiers to split into 3 teams and hunt the desert fog lizards, black-tailed fog scorpions, and sandmen in the 3 monster ranches. This time, she did not let the soldiers who felt that they could break through prioritize hunting monsters. That was because over the past few days, most of the soldiers who could break through by hunting the monsters in the monster ranch had already broken through. What the soldiers needed now was only the accumulation of advancement energy. Therefore, there was no need for such rules now. Increasing the efficiency of killing monsters was the most important. A moment later, under the siege of Nazario's dragon might and 4,970 soldiers, the 3,000 fog monsters quickly turned into corpses. The result was, 456 soldiers broke through from Black Iron Tier Elementary Grade to Black Iron Tier Intermediate Grade. 156 soldiers broke through from Black Iron Tier Intermediate Grade to Black Iron Tier Advanced Grade. 22 soldiers broke through from Black Iron Tier Advanced Grade to Green Bronze Tier Elementary Grade. 6 soldiers were upgraded from Green Bronze Tier Elementary Grade to Green Bronze Tier Intermediate Grade. The soldiers dripped golden corpse water on these monsters during the remaining time. Zhou Zhou also activated the Conqueror's Blast Furnace and asked the soldiers to throw the corpses of these monsters into the Conqueror's Blast Furnace. During the collection of the loot, Zhou Zhou led the soldiers and doctors to the Time Ruins without stopping to complete today's Time Ruins quest. An hour later, all the loots had been extracted from the monster ranches. A huge amount of monster flesh, water bags, potions, weapons, monster materials, various skill books, and potion formulas dropped. Zhou Zhou did not need these. They would become redeemable items in the military merit exchange system and the future subject contribution points exchange system. There were also 12,089 Black Iron Tier Mist Cores, 524 Green Bronze Tier Mist Cores, 1,125 Sword Shield Soldier Class Change Certificates, 481 Sword Shield Soldier Recruitment Books, 945 Poison Crossbowman Class Change Certificates, 567 Poison Crossbowman Recruitment Books, 2,284 kilograms of sand crystal. The gains from the Time Ruins would not change. Other than a fixed number of sets and scattered items, there were also 4,926 Black Iron Tier Mist Cores, 20 Green Bronze Tier Mist Cores, and 384 Elemental Archer Recruitment Books. Zhou Zhou then brought all the recruitment books to the Gate of Summoning and prepared to recruit new soldiers. Chapter 85 7,415 Soldiers. Prepare to set off. Zhou Zhou first summoned 13 elemental archers from the Gate of Summoning. Then, he threw all 481 Sword Shield Soldier Recruitment Books, 567 Poison Crossbow Soldier Recruitment Books, and 384 Elemental Archer Recruitment Books into the Gate of Summoning. In the following period of time, soldiers walked out of the Gate of Summoning and stood behind Zhou Zhou. A moment later, 1,432 soldiers stood behind Zhou Zhou in unison. I have 7,415 soldiers under my command now with these new soldiers. We're not far from breaking through to 10,000 soldiers. A smile appeared on Zhou Zhou's face. However, he frowned almost immediately again. There were almost more than 10,000 soldiers, but this also meant that he had reached the upper limit of the population of Blazing Sun City. Never mind. At most, well, put a few thousand more soldiers in the desolate city Boxen OVL. Zhou Zhou thought. At this moment, in his heart, the desolate city had already become his temporary garrison. Then, he handed the newly obtained sand crystals to Zhao Changshu and opened the exchange, wanting to sell a portion of the newly obtained monster flesh. However, when he saw the current price of monster meat in the exchange, he frowned slightly. He realized that the price of the monster flesh in the exchange had actually been suppressed to the point that a piece of black iron tier elementary grade monster flesh was only worth 8 units of basic materials. It was far inferior to the grand occasion where he dared to sell the flesh of the lowest black iron tier elementary grade monster for 20 units of basic materials. He flipped through the exchange of the other lords selling monster meat in the exchange. He realized that the prices were about the same. Moreover, there were many more lords selling monster flesh than before. It seems that most lords already have the ability to obtain food by themselves. The good time when the flesh of the lowest level monster could be sold for a high price has passed. Zhou sighed. However, he did not think too much about it. He had long been prepared for today's situation when he first sold monster meat. Therefore, he was not surprised. Fortunately, he had already earned a lot of basic materials by selling a large amount of monster flesh in the early stages. Therefore, he did not feel that he had suffered a loss now. Instead, he felt that he was very business-minded back then and knew how to seize opportunities. Then I won't sell this monster's flesh for the time being. In any case, the number of subjects in my territory is no longer a small number. The flesh of these monsters can be used as food for the subjects first. Zhou thought. Then, he returned to the Lord's courtyard and had breakfast. After filling his stomach, Zhou sat on the chair in the living room and thought for a moment. Then, he opened his friend list and found Linger's chat to send her a message. Lord of the Blazing Sun, are you there? The other party replied almost imminently. Spiritual Medicine Lord, I'm here, big brother. Lord of the Blazing Sun, the Novice Lord test is tomorrow. How's the preparation on your side? Spiritual Medicine Lord, don't worry, brother. Linger's territory already has more than 500 subjects and more than 200 military professions. Spiritual Medicine Lord, many lords on the World Channel are inferior to me. I will definitely be able to pass the Novice Lord test with my strength unless the Novice Lord test wants half of the Cerulean planet lords to die. Zhou sighed when he saw this. Perhaps it was because of their different personalities. His little sister was more confident. She felt that she could definitely pass the Novice Lord test even if there were only more than 200 professionals. He already had more than 7,000 professionals, but he was still a little worried when he thought of the Novice Lord test tomorrow. I hope tomorrow's Novice Lord test is not the kind of test where the stronger the Lord being tested, the more difficult the test will be. Otherwise, my development in the past 7 days will be shooting myself in the foot. Zhou thought. Then, he gave Linger a red packet with 200 Sword Shield Soldier Class Change Certificates, 100 Poison Crossbow Soldier Class Change Certificates, 50 bottles of Black Iron Tier Elementary Grade Health Potion, 10 bottles of Black Iron Tier Elementary Grade Energy Potion, 10 bottles of Black Iron Tier Advanced Grade Antidote, 10 Sand Stealth Techniques, 10 Sandman Summoning Techniques, 10 Sandification Techniques, and 1 Mechanostrider in it. These things were completely insignificant to Zhou. He had such gains every day with the monster ranches around. But these things might be able to save Linger's life in the Novice Lord test. Therefore, Zhou gave them to her happily. When Linger opened the red packet, she was immediately stunned by the contents. She was about to type something when she saw a message from her big brother. Lord of the Blazing Sun, God brother, don't underestimate tomorrow's Novice Lord test. I'm giving you these things for you to save your life. Lord of the Blazing Sun, God brother, remember to contact me when the Novice Lord test begins tomorrow. If you encounter any difficulties, I will definitely help you if I can. Lord of the Blazing Sun, God brother, if tomorrow's Novice Lord test endangers your life, and I can't help you, you can try to give up your status as a lord and see if you can escape. Linger immediately typed, Spiritual Medicine Lord, thank you, big brother. Don't worry, I'll definitely take good care of myself. Spiritual Medicine Lord, Big Brother, you have to work hard too. Spiritual Medicine Lord, most lords now think that you're the #1 lord on the cerulean planet. I think so too. Spiritual Medicine Lord, Linger believes that Big Brother will definitely perform the best in the Novice Lord test and obtain the supreme reward of the Supreme Will. Lord of the Blazing Sun, God Brother, the cerulean planet Lord is filled with crouching tigers and hidden dragons. Who can perform the best and obtain the favor of the Supreme Will? No one can say for sure until the last moment, but I will do my best. Spiritual Medicine Lord, yes, yes. After that, she sent 1,000 sets of life potion medicinal herbs, 1,000 sets of energy potion medicinal herbs, 1,000 sets of golden corpse water medicinal herbs, 1,000 sets of blood eye medicinal herbs, 1,000 sets of antidotes medicinal herbs, and 1,000 sets of blood cleansing pill medicinal herbs to Jojo. Then she typed again, Spiritual Medicine Lord, Big Brother, there are 2 types of medicinal herbs that are special and rare in the list of medicinal herbs you sent me last time. It will take 2 days to nurture them. I can only hand them to you tomorrow morning. When Jojo saw this sentence, he immediately knew that she was talking about the medicinal herbs needed to make the potential advancement potion. It will take even Linger's divine herb garden 2 days to nurture. The potential advancement potion is indeed extraordinary. Jojo sighed. This was the first time he had seen medicinal herbs that took 2 days to nurture in the divine herb garden. He typed that it was fine. It would be the same if she gave it to him tomorrow. Then, the 2 of them chatted for a while longer. After that, Jojo walked out of the Lord's courtyard and asked Bai Yi to get all the soldiers ready to go to Fish Spring Town to destroy the 3 Scarlet Lords there. Today is the last day. I have to hurry up and continue to strengthen myself before the Novice Lord test. I wonder how many Lord Talent Crystal fragments the 3 Scarlet Lords of Fish Spring Town can drop for me. Perhaps it could even become a complete Lord Talent. Thinking of this, Jojo was suddenly filled with anticipation for today's battle. Chapter 86 Wild Sand Believers. Pudeo Soldier Types. 2 hours later. In the area of Fish Spring Town and in the territory of the Wild Sand Boss, Wind Howler. Jojo and Bai Yi looked at the Scarlet Territory not far away. Humanoid monsters wearing military armor and holding Pudos one were patrolling their territory. Jojo looked at one of the humanoid monsters. A monster notification appeared. Monster name, Fogman, Wild Sand Believer, Strength Level, Black Iron Tier Elementary Grade, Monster Description, a monster subject under the leader of the Wild Sand Sect. Born in the Scarlet Fog, it was once a general believer of the Wild Sand Sect. Later, after following the boss of the Wild Sand Sect into rebelling, it was wiped out by the Wild Sand Army of the sect. It was transformed into a fog monster by the Scarlet Fog after death. Loots, 2 Black Iron Tier Mist Cores, Drop Rate, 100%, 1 Black Iron Tier Elementary Grade Skill Book, Summoning Wild Sand, Drop Rate, 5%, 1 Gradeless Pudeo Soldier Class Change Certificate, Drop Rate, 0, 1%, Pudeo Soldier, Boxen OVL. I remember that this seems to be a basic soldier type. Jojo thought. He had heard other lords mention this type of soldier when he was diving in the World Channel. This was an offensive basic soldier type. It was different from sword-shield soldiers who could both attack and defend. The Pudeo soldier used a weapon called Pudeo. It was a very heavy saber that needed to be held with both hands to unleash its greatest power. This allowed them to have higher lethality than sword-shield soldiers among the basic soldiers. However, their defense was weaker in contrast. Among the various human soldiers, the main representatives of the basic soldiers were spearmen, Pudeo soldiers, sword-shield soldiers, crossbowmen and bowmen. The 5 basic soldiers each had their advantages and disadvantages. Among the 5 basic soldiers, the Pudeo soldiers and spearmen are the main melee offensive soldiers of the human race. It's necessary to protect this wild sand believer with the monster ranch. A smile appeared on Zhou Zhou's face. He did not expect this. The first Scarlet Lord he found gave him such a huge surprise. In the future, he could add another basic type of soldier to the soldiers in his territory. Then, he looked at the loot drop rates of the other wild sand believers. In the end, he realized that they had the same loot drop rate as the desert fog lizard and the black-tailed fog scorpion. The number of Black Iron Tier Intermediate Grade Pudeo Soldier recruitment books that could be dropped began to increase starting from the Black Iron Tier Intermediate Grade Wild Sand Believers. At the Green Bronze Tier, the elite Wild Sand Believers would drop more Pudeo Soldier Class Change Certificates, Pudeo Soldier recruitment books, and higher-level Wild Sand Summoning Skill books. As for the Wild Sand Boss, Wind Howler, it had yet to appear. Therefore, Zhou Zhou did not know what it would drop. He looked at the center of the territory. There was a lord's courtyard with strong wind mixed with yellow sand whistling around it. Everything was normal after exceeding a certain range of the lord's courtyard. It was as if the inside and outside of the sandstorm were 2 completely different worlds. The Scarlet Lord should be inside. Zhou Zhou thought. Fish Spring Town had 3 Scarlet Lord territories. The reason why he led his troops to the territory of the Scarlet Lord of the Wild Sands, Wind Howl first, was because this was the only Green Bronze Tier Elementary Grade Scarlet Lord territory among the 3. He chose the easiest one to deal with first. Zhou Zhou could save the remaining 2 Green Bronze Tier Intermediate Grade Scarlet Lord territories for later. This is the first time I've seen a Scarlet Lord's faction in human form. According to the map information drawn by Wu Tu, this wild sand boss, Wind Howler, has more than 1,200 followers. He's also a white silver tier elementary grade fog monster. It's similar to the territory of a Sandman Lord. But I'm not the person I was yesterday. When I attacked the Sandman Lord yesterday, I had only a little more than 3,800 people. Today I can completely destroy these monsters with more ease. Thinking of this, Zhou Zhou looked behind him. A total of 6,415 soldiers were waiting behind him. Almost all of them were soldiers at a glance. Among them, there were 1,770 poison crossbowmen, 3,045 sword shield soldiers, 1,546 elemental archers, and 52 elven elemental archers. There was also a spearman and a cavalry. Their eyes were filled with ferocity, and they were prepared to rush down and kill at any time. Other than them, there was also a Green Bronze Tier Elementary Grade Sandman Leader and a Green Bronze Tier Intermediate Grade Sandman Leader. They had come to him by themselves. Zhou Zhou also brought them along on this expedition. He directly ordered everyone to attack and stop thinking about it. All the soldiers rushed down accompanied by the first kill sound. Among them, many sword-shield soldiers formed a thick iron wall and charged towards the wild sand believers unstoppably. The poison crossbowmen and elemental archers followed closely behind. They aimed at these enemies and drew their bows. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Poisonous arrows, woodvine strangulation arrows, and fire arrows formed a rain of arrows of 3 colors that filled the sky and shot towards the believers accompanied by the continuous sound of the string being released. In an instant, a third of the humanoid monsters died under this rain of arrows. Under the cover of the arrows, the sword-shield soldiers charging at the front looked even more unstoppable. The wild sand believers fell one after another wherever they went. Their eyes were cold, not showing any mercy just because the monster in front of them looked like a human. They were just monsters condensed from a ball of scarlet fog. They would be crazy to treat them as their own kind. Moreover, as long as it was the Lord's enemy, they would kill people of the same race without hesitation. Pity for the enemy on the battlefield was the greatest cruelty to oneself. They would not make such a low-level mistake. Behind the battlefield, Zhou Zhou and the doctors looked at the situation in front of them. There was a smile on their faces. Crushing. They were completely crushing them. These wild sand believers could not resist at all facing the huge difference in military strength. At this moment, a huge and gentle energy suddenly appeared in his heart. Then, it instantly surged into his limbs, bones, and soul to strengthen his body, soul, and mental strength. Zhou Zhou was taken aback momentarily before he opened his lord's personal information. In the strength class column, his strength had shockingly increased from green bronze tier elementary grade to green bronze tier intermediate grade. I've finally broken through. The promotion of a lord is really difficult. Zhou Zhou heaved a sigh of relief. A moment later, almost all the wild sand believers were killed by the soldiers without Nazario's help. Only 3 black iron tier elementary grade believers were knocked out and tied up, preparing to be brought back to be protected. At this moment, more than 6,400 soldiers surrounded the Lord's courtyard from 50 to 60 meters away, staring covetously at the building. The door to the Lord's courtyard was opened. An old man in a long robe with yellow sand patterns, holding a staff, and with bloodshot eyes walked out of the Lord's courtyard. It was the wild sand boss, Wind Howler. Zhou Zhou was about to check his monster information and drop rate information after seeing it. At this moment, magma dragon breath descended from the sky and spat on the Scarlet Lord. 2 seconds later, a kill notification appeared. Your pet lava dragon, Nazario, has killed the wild sand boss, Scarlet Lord, Wind Howler. Promotion energy plus 200. Loots condensed. The territory of the Scarlet Lord has become ownerless. You can plunder or occupy it. Zhou Zhou, little Nez, couldn't you have given this Scarlet Lord some face? Nazario sneezed disdainfully in the sky. A mere white silver tier elementary grade Scarlet Lord had made it wait so long. If not for the fact that this Lord's courtyard was created by the Scarlet Lord, which something not even its dragon breath could destroy, it would have already destroyed the other party the moment it arrived. Chapter 87 The Loots of the Wild Sand Boss. Continue to set off. The corpse of the wild sand boss, which experienced incomplete burning, was carried over by the soldiers after cooling down with cold water in no time. Zhou Zhou looked at it. An item information notification appeared. Item name, Wild Sand Boss, Wind Howler, Scarlet Lord, Corpse, Item level, White Silver Tier Elementary Grade, Item effect, contains unextracted loots. Item description, Scarlet Lord killed by the pet of the Lord of the Blazing Sun. Prompt, in 2 hours, this corpse will turn into fog and be reborn at a certain time in the future. Loots, 5 white silver tier mist cores, drop rate, 100%, 2 origin crystals, drop rate, 100%, 1 white silver tier elementary grade equipment, the wild sand staff, drop rate, 20%, 1 white silver tier elementary grade skill book, summoning wild sand, drop rate, 5%, 20 gradeless Pudeo soldier class change certificates, drop rate, 0, 1%, 10 white silver tier elementary grade Pudeo soldier recruitment book, drop rate, 0, 1%, 5 black iron tier Lord talent crystal fragments, drop rate, 0%. Unfortunately, there isn't any Scarlet Lord talent sphere. But the Lord's talent crystal fragment is not bad either. Boxen OVL. Zhou Zhou nodded slightly when he saw the loot. He now had 9 black iron tier Lord talent crystal fragments. He could already fuse another black iron tier Lord talent origin divine crystal in addition to these 5. However, he did not plan to open another black iron tier Lord talent this time. He planned to save it first and upgrade the Insight Defection talent in the future. Then, he placed his hand on the other party's corpse. A golden notification appeared. Do you want to retrieve the loot? Yes. The next second, a text notification appeared. Lord Talent hint, you have obtained loots, 5 mist cores, white silver tier, 2 origin crystals, 1 wild sand staff, white silver tier elementary grade, 1 summoning wild sand, white silver tier elementary grade, skill book, 20 Pudeo soldier class change certificates, gradeless, 10 Pudeo soldier recruitment books, white silver tier elementary grade, 5 Lord talent crystal fragments, black iron tier elementary grade. Whoosh! The loots were all dropped. Zhou put the mist cores, origin crystals, and the fragments of the Lord talent crystal into his spatial ring. Then, he checked the remaining loot. The first was the wild sand staff. It was a yellow staff nearly 2 meters long with a yellow crystal embedded at the top of the staff. The surface of the staff was carved with strange patterns, which looked like the beauty of a foreign race's culture. The equipment notification appeared, equipment name, wild sand staff, equipment grade, white silver tier elementary grade, equipment effect 1, wild sand territory, continue to inject energy into the staff and you can cast the wild sand territory at a specific location. Enemies in the wild sand territory will continue to suffer damage from the attack of wild sand of white silver tier elementary grade. Note, the location, range, strength, and duration of the wild sand territory depends on the strength of the energy in the user's body and the amount of energy output. Equipment effect 2, wild sand blessing, using it on the wild sand territory repeatedly can increase the strength and purity of the energy in the user's body. This blessing is only effective on professionals below the yellow gold tier. When Zhou saw the continuous effect of the staff, he immediately thought of the scene in the Lord's courtyard. That should be the wild sand territory, right? So it was caused by this staff. Zhou clicked his tongue in wonder. It turned out that the other party was receiving the wild wind blessing in the Lord's courtyard. Unfortunately, it's a white silver tier elementary grade staff. Otherwise I will be able to use it now. Zhou looked at the staff. He was quite envious of the effect of this staff, therefore, he could not help but try to inject the energy from his body. However, the staff did not react. Zhou felt a little helpless. His body had just entered the green bronze tier intermediate grade. It could not even reach the threshold of activating the wild sand territory of this wild sand staff. He could only use it when he advanced to the white silver tier elementary grade in the future. Then, Zhou put it away and checked the white silver tier elementary grade skill book, Summoning Wild Sand. Skill name, Summoning Wild Sand, skill quality, white silver tier elementary grade, skill description, summon a wave of sand at a designated location, causing area-off effect sand attack damage to the enemy. The range of the sand depends on the amount of energy the summoner outputs. Isn't this a weakened version of the gust territory? Zhou was stunned. He could not learn this either, so he put it away. Finally, Zhou looked at the Pudeo soldier class change certificate and the Pudeo soldier recruitment book. Item name, Pudeo soldier class change certificate, item level, gradeless, item effect, basic soldier class change tool. After using it, you can become a basic soldier class, the Pudeo soldier. You will also have a set of black iron tier elementary grade standard equipment, a year of Pudeo soldier combat experience, and black iron tier elementary grade initial strength. Item description, basic military profession change certificate. One is enough to allow ordinary people without any strength to step onto the path of extraordinary professions. Item name, Pudeo soldier recruitment book, item level, white silver tier elementary grade, item effect, basic soldier recruitment book. Throw it into the gate of summoning and you can summon a black iron tier elementary grade potential to become your subject. Item description, one of the sources of the myriad realm lord's forces. Only the lucky among the lords can obtain it. Zhou nodded slightly. It was almost no different from a sword shield soldier's. He walked into the Lord's courtyard and took away a green bronze tier elementary grade territory token after asking Bai Yi to break the territory tablet. My territory can be upgraded again as long as I obtain 2 more green bronze tier territory tokens. Zhou Zhou thought. He planned to conquer all 3 Scarlet Lord territories in Fish Spring Town in one go today. If nothing went wrong, he should be able to upgrade his territory before the end of the day. He took out 2 Conqueror's blast furnaces and began to retrieve the loot of the more than 1,200 believers while he let the soldiers take turns resting and guarding the surroundings. Half an hour later, all the loot had been extracted. They obtained a total of 4,154 black iron tier mist cores, 318 green bronze tier mist cores, 1,990 Pudeo soldier class change certificates, 752 Pudeo soldier recruitment books, 1,260 summoning wild sand books, black iron tier and green bronze tier. Zhou Zhou took out a green bronze tier intermediate grade summoning sand from the 1,000-odd skill books and chose to learn it. He had mastered this skill. Other than these gains, when Bai Yi and the others were cleaning up the battlefield, they also discovered 15,000 units of wood, 10,000 units of stone, 8,000 units of fine sand, and 10,000 units of metal in the warehouse of this Scarlet territory. There were also 1,084 black iron tier mist cores and 88 green bronze tier mist cores. After confirming that there were no other loots to take away from this Scarlet territory, Zhou Zhou led the soldiers who had ample rest and rushed towards the territory of Zi Pao, the purple scale murderfish Scarlet Lord. Chapter 88 Purple Scale Murderfish. Lava melting the lake. Half an hour later. Zhou Zhou stood on a stone cliff and looked at the purple scale lake, the territory of the purple scale murderfish leader not far away while he recalled its origin. The purple scale lake was not a natural lake in Fish Spring Town. It was an artificial lake. It was said that back then, after Zhang Burn used his black iron tier lord talent, Fish Water Lake, to make Fish Spring Town rich, some subjects felt that the reason why the fish produced in Fish Water Lake were fat and huge was because the water from the lake was special. Therefore, some people had thoughts of buying lake water from Zhang Burn to build an artificial lake and develop a fish farm. At that time, Zhang Ben was in high spirits because of the Fish Water Lake. When he heard this request, he knew that his subjects wanted to get rich and agreed without much hesitation. He even took the initiative to help the other party build an artificial lake. Therefore, 2 artificial lakes were built in less than a month. Just as people were looking forward to the benefits these 2 artificial lakes could bring to Fish Spring Town, they were modified by the Scarlet Fog and became the territory of the Scarlet Lord overnight. One of them became the Scarlet territory of the purple scale murderfish leader in front of him. Boxen OVL. COM. The other was the territory of the only Lord tier Scarlet Lord in Fish Spring Town, the Water Demon Scarlet Lord. At the beginning, these 2 Scarlet Lords' territories were still relatively weak. However, they could only watch as they became stronger because it was very difficult for Zhang Ben and the others to hurt them when they were under the lake. Then, it became something that could not be dealt with now. From then on, there were no more subjects in Fish Spring Town who dared to say that they could make a fortune by building an artificial lake. The monsters under the lake are indeed difficult to deal with. Even my soldiers will find it difficult to completely eliminate the purple scale murderfish under the lake without underwater combat methods. Still, I have Nazario. Zhou Zhou looked at Nazario in the sky and conveyed his orders to it. Nazario roared and rushed towards the extremely calm purple scale lake. Nazario suddenly stopped when it was about 50 to 60 meters away from the purple scale lake. It looked coldly at the purple scale lake and flapped its dragon wings, flying above the lake. The wind formed by the flapping of the dragon wings blew on the surface of the lake, causing a large number of ripples. Purple scale murderfish with scarlet fish eyes emerged from the bottom of the lake one after another, trembling as they looked at Nazario. At this moment, Nazario had yet to release its dragon might. However, Its size and the bloodline aura it naturally emitted alone were enough to make these purple scale murderfish extremely afraid. Zhou Zhou took advantage of this moment. He chose the weakest-looking purple scale murderfish and checked its monster information. Monster name, purple scale murderfish, strength level, black iron tier elementary grade, monster description, the monster of the purple scale lake was born in the scarlet fog. It was originally an ordinary purple scale lake, but under the modification of the scarlet fog, it became a ferocious underwater monster that devoured people. Loots, 2 units of black iron tier mist cores, drop rate, 100%, 1 unit to 20 units of delicious meat from black iron tier elementary grade purple scale murder fish, drop rate, 20% to 1%, 1 gradeless skill book, swimming mastery, 1 black iron tier elementary grade skill book, water spear technique, drop rate, 1%, after seeing its loot drop. Zhou Zhou looked at the drop rates of the other levels of the purple scale murderfish. He realized that the loots of the other higher-level purple scale murderfish had not changed much. However, the drops of delicious fish meat and the skill level of the water spear technique had also increased. When Zhou Zhou saw this, he no longer had the thought of protecting it. This was the first time he had seen the flesh of a monster with the prefix delicious, which meant that even the Supreme will approved of the deliciousness of this fish. However, he could only build one other monster ranch now. This monster ranch definitely had to place a very valuable monster in it. In addition, the fish spring town also sold fish similar to it. The taste should not be inferior to it. Therefore, Zhou Zhou was no longer interested in it. On the other side, Nazario looked at the purple scale murderfish below. It suddenly opened its mouth. A red light brewed in its throat. The next second, the hot and scarlet magma dragon breath spewed out of its mouth and shot into the purple scale lake. Hiss 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 hiss. A large amount of steam instantly evaporated from the originally dead lake surface by the hot magma dragon breath. At the same time, kill notifications quickly appeared in front of Zhou Zhou. Your pet lava dragon, Nazario has killed a black iron tier elementary grade purple scale murderfish. Promotion energy +2. Loots condensed. Your pet lava dragon, Nazario has killed a black iron tier advanced grade elite purple scale murderfish. Promotion energy +8. Loots condensed. Your pet lava dragon, Nazario has killed the green bronze tier elementary grade purple scale murderfish leader. Promotion energy +20. Loots condensed. In the blink of an eye, the information of dozens of purple scale murderfishes being killed appeared in front of Zhou Zhou. Nazario's magma dragon breath had yet to stop. It seemed to have endless magma dragon breath and had no intention of stopping at all. It continuously burned the purple scale lake that the residents of Fish Spring Town regarded as a taboo. As time passed, the number of purple scale murder fishes in the lake began to decrease at an astonishing speed. Moreover, even the depth of the lake began to decrease at a speed visible to the naked eye. Bubbles were even popping up on the surface of the purple scale lake. It was obvious how hot the lake water was. The purple scale murder fishes were steamed to death by the scorching lake water before they were even injured by the magma dragon breath. A delicious fish fragrance came from the purple scale lake and quickly reached Zhou Zhou and the others. It smells so good, I'm craving it. How is this killing fog monsters? This is clearly cooking fish in a big pot. His lordship's pet is too powerful. The soldiers could not help but whisper. This was the first time they had seen such a spectacular and unbelievable scene. They had long known that their lord's pet was very strong, but at this moment, they were also shocked by the destructive power of the lava dragon. Zhou Zhou also felt a little emotional. Pure-blooded dragons were indeed unbelievably strong. If Nazario could do this now, it might not be impossible to burn mountains and boil seas in the future, when it reaches maturity. This is only a young pure-blooded dragon. There might be dragon lords in the high continent. If it can also summon pure-blooded dragons as its subjects through the gate of summoning like us, Zhou Zhou thought about it. He immediately felt a chill run down his spine. A life form that was born to stand at the peak of all races was indeed ridiculously strong. Zhou Zhou became even more cautious at the thought that such a terrifying life form might be his opponent in the future. I might be doing well among the Cerulean planet lords. There are even some lords who say that I'm the top lord of the Cerulean planet's human race. But I'm afraid I'm still very weak in front of the lord of a truly powerful race. I still need to become stronger. Zhou Zhou thought to himself. Chapter 89 Yellow Gold Tier Scarlet Lord Talent Sphere. Yellow Gold Tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragment. Zhou Zhou looked silently at the scene of Nazario wreaking havoc in the purple scale lake in the distance. Originally, he was still a little worried about the novice lord test after 7 days of development. He still felt a little proud when he compared himself to the development progress of the other Cerulean planet lords. But at this moment, the arrogance in his heart disappeared. He did not have the right to be arrogant in front of the truly powerful lords of all races. At least not yet. If a dragon lord appeared in front of him now, it probably only needed to send 4 to 5 pure-blooded dragons and it could crush all the development results he had been proud of for the past 7 days. Half a minute later. Just as Nazario had burned 400 to 500 purple scale murderfishes to death, the purple scale murderfish lord, which had been hiding under the lake and unwilling to come out to face Nazario, finally could not take it anymore. If it continued to hide, its freshwater lake was probably going to become a magma lake. Boom! Boxen OVL. A purple scale murderfish that was more than 10 meters long suddenly emerged from the water. It was the purple scale murderfish lord, Z Pao. It suddenly opened its mouth the moment it flew out of the lake. Then, a water gun as thick as a water tank shot out from its mouth, attacking Nazario. Nazario only glanced at the water spear indifferently after noticing its movements. Elementary Fire Elemental Control. Whoosh! A blazing flame barrier appeared out of thin air. After the water spear hit the flame barrier, it only caused a ripple on the barrier before silently evaporating into water vapor and dissipating into the air. Then, its dragon head turned slightly, and the magma dragon breath it spat out immediately went straight for the Scarlet Lord. When the purple scale murderfish lord saw this scene, it was so frightened that it wanted to escape. It suddenly dived into the water and swam as deep into the lake as possible. Soon, it reached the bottom of the lake. It plunged deep into the soil at the bottom of the lake, wanting to burrow under the soil. The next second, the scorching magma dragon breath directly burned an underwater passageway of 40 to 50 meters in the lake and enveloped it. The purple scale murderfish lord, Z Pao, died on the spot enveloped by the scorching magma dragon breath. An even more alluring fish fragrance came from its body, making everyone on the shore gulp. At the same time, a kill notification also appeared in front of Zhou Zhou. Your pet lava dragon, Nazario has killed the white silver tier intermediate grade purple scale murderfish lord, Z Pao, Scarlet Lord. Promotion energy plus 400. Loots condensed. The territory of the Scarlet Lord has become ownerless. You can plunder or occupy it. After a while, Nazario stopped spitting out magma dragon breath in satisfaction after confirming that all the purple scale murderfishes had been destroyed. There was no longer any drop of lake water. They were all evaporated into water vapor by the magma dragon breath. There were only 1,900 charred purple scale murderfish corpses left. They lay at the bottom of the lake while emitting the fragrance of roasted fish. Nazario used elementary fire elemental control again, drawing away all the heat where it spat out magma dragon breath to make it easier for the soldiers to take the corpses of the purple scale murderfish. After that, the soldiers jumped into the bottom of the lake one after another and transported the corpses of the purple scale murderfishes up. Then, they retrieved the loot from the three conquerors' blast furnace. Half an hour later, all 1,900 purple scale murder fishes had been extracted. This included 1,287 black iron tier purple scale murder fishes and elite purple scale murder fishes. 612 green bronze tier purple scale murder fish leaders. 1 white silver tier elementary grade purple scale murder fish leader, not the Scarlet Lord. In total, 4,690 black iron tier mist cores. 1,924 green bronze tier mist cores. 2 white silver tier mist cores. 51,140 units of black iron tier delicious fish meat. 20,740 units of green bronze tier delicious fish meat. 2,000 units of white silver tier delicious fish meat. 1,900 gradeless skill books, swimming mastery. 1,900 skill books, water spear technique. Black iron tier, green bronze tier and 1 white silver tier elementary grade. Zhou took out one of the gradeless swimming mastery and the green bronze tier intermediate grade water spear technique. Skill name, swimming mastery, skill quality, gradeless, skill description. After learning it, you can swim freely in the water like a fish. At the same time, your lung capacity will increase greatly. You can dive to a depth of 300 meters and can hold your breath underwater for a minimum of 1 hour. Skill name, water spear technique, skill quality, green bronze tier intermediate grade, skill description, concentrate and guide the condensation of water elemental energy in your mouth to form a water spear with green bronze tier intermediate grade destructive power and penetrative power to attack the enemy. After Zhou read the skill description, he learned it without hesitation. When he was on the Cerulean planet, he was a landlubber. After learning swimming mastery, he would not be afraid of falling into the water in the future. He could also master the basic skill of swimming. As for his ability to dive deep and hold his breath, he could easily break the world record if he brought it to the Cerulean planet. The water spear technique was a very simple and pure offensive skill. There was nothing to say. While he did not need to fight personally as a lord, there was no harm in learning it as a backup. Then, Zhou looked at the corpse of the purple scale murder fish lord, Zi Pao. Information about the corpse appeared. Item name, corpse of the purple scale murder fish lord, Zi Pao, Scarlet Lord. Item level, white silver tier intermediate grade. Item effect, contains unextracted loots. Item description, Scarlet Lord killed by the pet of the Lord of the Blazing Sun. Prompt, in 2 hours, this corpse will turn into fog and be reborn at a certain time in the future. Loots, 10 units of white silver tier mist cores, drop rate, 100%, 200 units to 2,000 units of white silver tier intermediate grade purple scale murder fish lord's delicious flesh, drop rate, 20% to 0, 5%, 1 white silver tier intermediate grade skill book, water spear book, drop rate, 5%, 1 yellow gold tier Scarlet Lord talent sphere, drop rate, 0%, 3 yellow gold tier Lord talent crystal fragments, drop rate, 0%. Zhou's eyes lit up. He was immediately a little excited. Yellow gold tier Scarlet Lord talent sphere. This guy actually had a yellow gold tier Scarlet Lord talent. Moreover, there were 3 yellow gold tier Lord talent crystal fragments. He had always thought that it was only going to be a black iron tier Lord talent crystal fragment. It actually turned out that the Scarlet Lord talent sphere and the Lord talent crystal fragment could exist at the same time. He immediately placed his hand on the other party's corpse and extracted the other party's loot. Soon, a large number of loots dropped, but Zhou's eyes were only fixated at the ball of light that emitted a golden halo with a wisp of blood inside. Treasure name, Scarlet Lord talent sphere, unknown, treasure grade, yellow gold tier, treasure effect. The Lord can absorb it and obtain an unknown yellow gold tier Lord talent after being purified by the Supreme Will. Treasure description, a loot that could not be dropped. It was forced to drop under the drive of some mysterious power. Do you want to purify it? Zhou naturally chose not to purify it on the spot. They were outside after all. It might not be safe. It would not be too late to purify it when he returned to the territory. He resisted the urge to immediately purify it and put it into his spatial ring. Then, he looked at the yellow gold tier Lord Talent crystal fragments that he was seeing for the first time. Treasure name, Lord Talent crystal fragment, grade, yellow gold tier, treasure ability 1, gather 10 gold tier Lord Talent crystal fragments and fuse them into a complete gold tier Lord Talent origin divine crystal. It can awaken an unknown gold tier Lord Talent. Treasure ability 2, gather 10 yellow gold tier Lord Talent origin divine crystals and fuse them into a complete white platinum tier Lord Talent origin divine crystal. It can allow a lord with a yellow gold tier Lord Talent to upgrade his Lord Talent to a white platinum tier Lord Talent. The subsequent fusion effects, and so on. Introduction, a treasure that lords can only dream of. Zhou was extremely excited. It's not a loss. It doesn't matter even if the invasion of the last Scarlet Lord fails in the end. With this yellow gold tier Scarlet Lord Talent sphere and these 3 yellow gold tier Lord Talent crystal fragments, I didn't come for nothing today. He thought excitedly. Chapter 90 Bai Yi's Breakthrough. Vampire's Corpse. My lord, we just found the territory stone tablet here. We also found their storage resources here. There are a total of 20,000 units of stone, 10,000 units of wood, and 10,000 units of metal. Other than that, we found 30,000 units of fine sand not far from the shore of the Purple Scale Lake. In addition, 584 black iron tier mist cores, 56 green bronze tier mist cores, and 2 white silver tier mist cores were discovered. At this moment, Bai Yi quickly walked over and said respectfully, "Bring me to the territory tablet." Zhou nodded. "Yes, my lord." Then, Bai Yi jumped down from the Purple Scale Lake with Zhou and arrived at the bottom of the lake. After walking 100 to 200 meters at the bottom of the lake, Zhou saw a lord's courtyard buried in sand. He walked into the lord's courtyard. Boxen OVL. COMA territory stone tablet wrapped in water plants stood here. Break it. Zhou ordered. Yes. Bai Yi nodded. Then, she drew her bow and fired 10 fire vine arrows at the territory tablet, shattering it to reveal a green bronze tier intermediate grade territory token. Zhou went forward and obtained the territory token. I can upgrade my territory when I return home later. A smile appeared on Zhou's face. Then, he prepared to rest for half an hour before setting off. At this moment, he realized that the soldiers were discussing the fragrance of the purple scale murder fish that they had just smelled. They were almost salivating. Zhou's heart skipped a beat. They had to rest anyway. Moreover, they had to face the most difficult water demon Scarlet Lord, and see next. Since that was the case, it would not be too late to fight after the soldiers were full and energetic. Thinking of this, he immediately took out 10,000 units of black iron tier delicious fish and 5,000 units of green bronze tier delicious fish. Then, he called Zhang Tsang over and asked him to bring a group of soldiers to distribute the fish meat to the soldiers. Let the soldiers eat and drink. They would fight after eating and resting. As for the kitchenware, there was no need to worry. He brought more than 6,400 soldiers out to fight. No matter how sloppy Zhou was, he would not forget the importance of these supplies. Therefore, he asked the soldiers to bring the kitchen utensils and the like. He even brought Qin Guang and his wife, the first pair of chefs in the territory, along. Zhang Tsang and the others' eyes immediately lit up. They were already deeply attracted by the fragrance of the fish meat when they saw Nazario destroy the purple scale murder fish. They had thought that they would only be able to eat this delicious fish after the battles. They did not expect their lord to be so understanding to allow them to satisfy their cravings immediately. "Thank you, my lord." Zhang Tsang said excitedly. Take these fish and distribute them quickly. Don't forget to guard the surroundings while you eat. This is not our territory now. Zhou Zhou smiled. Yes, my lord. Zhang Tsang said respectfully. Then, he went to get someone to move the fish. A moment later. The fish soup is here. Qin Guang, who was already a Black Iron Tier advanced grade chef, excitedly carried a large pot of purple scale fish soup to Zhou Zhou excitedly. It smells so good. Zhou Zhou only smelled it and his eyes lit up. This large pot of fish soup was made from the white silver tier intermediate grade delicious fish meat of the purple scale murderfish leader. It had to be said. Zhou Zhou had yet to taste it, but he was already tempted just by the smell. Even the energy in his body was stirring. He was about to scoop a bowl of fish soup and taste it when he saw Bai Yi standing respectfully at the side. Bai Yi. Why are you still standing there? Sit down and eat with us. He quickly called out to the other party. My lord, this isn't good. I'll just eat with the soldiers later. Bai Yi hesitated. Why are you being so polite? Zhou Zhou pulled her down and drank fish soup and ate fish meat together. Then, their eyes lit up at the same time. Not only was this white silver tier intermediate grade leader tier fish delicious and melted in their mouths, the energy contained in the fish meat that belonged to the white silver tier intermediate grade also benefited the two of them. At this moment, both of them were at green bronze tier intermediate grade. After eating the fish soup and fish meat, they felt that the advancement energy in their bodies had clearly increased. Bai Yi barely maintained her reservedness, even though the speed at which she ate was clearly faster. Zhou Zhou could no longer care about his image as a lord. He wolfed down the soup and ate the meat. He was a complete example of what it meant to wolf down one's food. Soon, the fish soup and meat in the large pot decreased at a visible speed. Qin Guang chuckled as he watched this scene. Then, he turned around and went back to work. After a while, he brought over 2 pots of fish soup and 50 skewers of roasted fish. They were all made from the delicious meat of the white silver tier intermediate grade purple scale murderfish leader. The two of them ate with joy. Half an hour later. After eating the 5th pot of fish soup, Zhou Zhou touched his swollen stomach and smiled. He looked around. At this moment, the soldiers were eating the flesh of the purple scale murderfish in full swing. Everyone's faces were filled with satisfaction. Not far away was the place where the purple scale murderfish was destroyed. Zhou Zhou suddenly thought of a poem. It was very similar to the scene in front of him. Hungry for hulu meat, laughing and drinking Xiongnu blood. This might be the pride and romance of the battlefield. Zhou Zhou smiled. He turned to look at Bai Yi. He was stunned. Bai Yi's eyes were closed and her face was ruddy. The flame mark on her face emitted a faint blood light and her body emitted unstable energy fluctuations. What happened? Zhou Zhou immediately grabbed her hand, only to realize that her hand was extremely hot. The next second. My lord. It's coming. Bai Yi whispered. Zhou Zhou. The next second. Bai Yi's body suddenly tensed up. A few seconds later, she suddenly relaxed and a comfortable expression appeared on her face. Zhou Zhou admitted that he very nearly could not hold it in anymore looking at this scene, coupled with her elven bloodline face and figure. My lord, I've broken through to the green bronze tier advanced grade. Bai Yi said happily after opening her eyes. Zhou Zhou coughed twice and was so embarrassed that he did not dare to look into her eyes. Bai Yi blinked. What is wrong with my lord? My lord, X2 at this moment, the Catgirl sisters from before quickly ran over wearing the standard sword shield soldier equipment. When they saw Zhou Zhou and Bai Yi leaning against each other intimately, they were stunned and immediately became flustered. Zhou Zhou and Bai Yi immediately separated. Ahem, what happened? Zhou Zhou's expression returned to normal. My lord. Just now, when we were patrolling the vicinity with 5 elven elemental archer sisters, we discovered 2 sneaky human vampires. After the 2 of them saw us, they turned into a group of bats and wanted to escape, but we shot them all down. The younger cat girl said excitedly. My lord, don't listen to my sister's nonsense. Actually, it's mainly because of the 5 elven elemental archer sisters. We did want to stop them, but we couldn't do anything as soon as the 2 vampires turned into bats. The older cat girl knocked her younger sister's head and said in embarrassment. It's fine. What happened to the 2 vampires now? Zhou asked. These 2 vampires should be the subjects of the other 2 overlords in Fish Spring Town. He did not go and suppress them because they still had the novice lord's protection barrier. He did not expect the other party to come knocking on his door. But it made sense thinking about it. As the overlords of Fish Spring Town, if they had yet to react after he dealt with 2 Scarlet Lords' territories in a row, then they were really unqualified as lords. After they turned into bats and were shot down, they directly turned back to their original form and died. We've brought the corpses over. The older cat girl said respectfully. Then, the 2 of them turned around and left and each pulled a corpse to Zhou a short while later. Zhou looked over curiously. The corpses of these 2 vampire humans were not much different from ordinary humans. They were wearing medieval noble clothes and were handsome and pale. Their fingernails were slightly longer. Zhou could feel the coldness coming from their bodies even though there was a distance between them. Item name, Vampire Corpses, Low-Level Vampire, Item Level, Black Iron Tier Advanced Grade, Item Effect, contains unextracted loots. Item description, a subject of the Blood Sun Lord that was embraced by him, killed by the soldiers of Blazing Sun City. Prompt, in 2 hours, this corpse will turn into fog and be reborn at a certain time in the future. Loots, 8 Black Iron Tier Mist Cores, drop rate, 100%, 1 Yellow Gold Tier Elementary Grade, Low-Level Blood Clan Bloodline, drop rate, 10%, 1 Yellow Gold Tier Elementary Grade Racial Skill Book, Blood Bat Form, drop rate, 0, 1%, 1 Yellow Gold Tier Elementary Grade Racial Talent Sphere, drop rate, 0.001%. Chapter 91 Blood Bat Form. Obtained Vampire Race Talent. Zhou raised his eyebrows. He finally saw things like racial skills and racial talent sphere again. And there was a low-level blood clan bloodline. This was the first time he had seen this. Then, he looked at the corpse of another vampire. He realized that the loots of both were the same. He half squatted down and placed his hand on the vampire corpse on the left. A golden notification appeared. Do you want to retrieve the loot? Yes. Zhou thought to himself. Boxen OVL. COM. The next second. A text notification appeared. Lord Talent Hint, you have obtained loots, 8 Mist Cores, Black Iron Tier, 1 Low-Level Blood Clan Bloodline, Yellow Gold Tier Elementary Grade, 1 Racial Skill Book, Blood Bat Form, Yellow Gold Tier Elementary Grade, 1 Racial Talent Sphere, Yellow Gold Tier Elementary Grade, Whoosh. A large amount of loot dropped. Zhou put away the mist cores first. Then, he looked at the other loot. First, it was the low-level Blood Clan Bloodline. It looked like a beating blood-colored heart. When Zhou picked it up, he realized that the heart was cold. A text notification appeared. Bloodline name, Low-Level Blood Clan Bloodline, Bloodline Level, Yellow Gold Tier Elementary Grade, Bloodline Effect. After absorbing it, the user can obtain a Yellow Gold Tier Elementary Grade Bloodline, Low-Level Blood Clan Bloodline. After fusing with this bloodline, the user will gradually awaken some low-level Blood Clan Bloodline racial abilities during the period of their growth. Prompt 1. Fuse 100 units of Yellow Gold Tier Elementary Tier Vampire Bloodline and you can obtain 1 White Platinum Tier Advanced Grade, Vampire Baron Bloodline. Prompt 2, the level suppression between two different vampire bloodlines is very serious. Please carefully choose whether to absorb this bloodline. Do you want to absorb it? Zhou frowned slightly at the end. There was actually a serious level suppression among vampires of different levels. However, seeing this notification, he suddenly dismissed this idea of absorbing it. Unless he had the highest level of vampire bloodline, otherwise, he would rather not absorb a bloodline with such a huge drawback. Moreover, there were so many extraordinary creatures in this world. Dragon bloodline, elven bloodline, angel bloodline, titan bloodline, god spirit bloodline. All of these lords of all races were gathered here. This meant that there were the most complete bloodlines of the various races on the high continent. He had a 100% drop rate. As long as he could continue growing safely. Sooner or later, he would be able to obtain a top-notch bloodline for himself. Speaking of which, I've already fought many monsters of different races. Only Lord Potts, his subjects, and this vampire lord's subjects dropped items related to racial abilities. Don't fog monsters drop bloodlines? Is it because they're essentially made of scarlet fog? That's why there are no bloodline-related loots. Zhou pondered. He thought for a moment. He felt that his guess should be right. After that, he stopped thinking and looked at the next loot. Race skill name, blood bat form, skill quality, yellow gold tier elementary grade, skill description. After learning it, the user can master the bloodline skill of a low-level blood clan bloodline, the blood bat form. After using the blood bat form, the user can instantly turn his body into a certain number of blood bats by consuming the blood in his body and using it to fly. Prompt: this racial skill is essentially a half-growth skill. The upper limit of growth is yellow gold tier elementary grade. Any level professional can learn it. Zhou immediately came to a realization. I knew it. How could two black iron tier advanced grade vampires use a yellow gold tier elementary grade racial skill? So it was a half-growth racial skill. It was a yellow gold tier elementary grade skill, but the two black iron tier advanced grade low-level vampires could only unleash the power that was befitting of this might. Then it was fine. Zhou chose to learn it immediately. After learning it, he carefully felt his change. Soon. He realized that he seemed to be able to control his flesh and bones to change. He looked at his right hand. With a thought, bang! Wisps of blood-colored fog seeped out of the skin of his right hand and condensed into a blood bat in his palm. Zhou looked at it. He realized that he could completely control this blood bat and even have its perspective. Whoosh! The blood bat suddenly flapped its wings and flew into the sky. Zhou looked at it helplessly. At the same time, he looked at the purple scale lake below through its perspective. A feeling that was different from his daily perspective attacked his heart. Even though the blood bat's vision was weaker, which meant that he could barely see things, he had a visual effect similar to the blood eye. He could acutely sense the blood-colored creatures in his field of vision. At the same time, it could also simulate the surrounding terrain in its mind through ultrasonic positioning. With these three observation abilities, it allowed the blood bat to have an extremely strong grasp of its surroundings. This blood bat can be used as a scout when it's not safe. Zhou immediately thought with excitement. The price of creating this blood bat was only a portion of his blood. At the same time, he could feel that if he consumed about a fifth of the blood in his body, he could turn his entire body into 20 blood bats and control each blood bat to fly away. Among the 20 blood bats, only the only blood bat would fly away with his soul. This blood bat would be the most important blood bat. If he encountered an enemy so powerful that it was difficult to resist, he could escape through this blood bat form. He could use this blood bat to condense his body again to escape death as long as this blood bat with his soul was still alive and the others died. What a powerful life-saving skill. Zhou clicked his tongue. This was only the form of a low-level blood bat. If it was a vampire baron in the form of a blood bat or even a vampire with a higher-level bloodline, not only would their blood bat form be stronger, but there would also be other derivative changes. He did not try to turn his entire body into blood bat form. Even though consuming 1/5 of his blood was not dangerous for him, who was at the green bronze tier intermediate grade, it would also cause him to fall into a weak state. There would be an even more intense battle later. Zhou did not want his strength to weaken at this time. It would not be too late to practice the blood bat form when it was completely safe for him to do so. Now, I can be considered to have mastered this vampire skill without the bloodline of a low-level blood clan bloodline. If I have a low-level blood clan bloodline, my blood bat form should be even stronger. Zhou thought. Even so, he would not fuse a bloodline with such a huge drawback just because of a skill. Then, he stopped thinking and looked at the racial talent sphere. Treasure name, racial talent sphere, blood pool, treasure grade, yellow gold tier elementary grade, treasure effect. After using it, you can possess the racial talent of a low-level vampire, blood pool. You can store more blood in your body. Moreover, you can store more blood every time your strength increases. You will also obtain a certain level of increase in effect when using blood element-related skills. Treasure description, the racial talent of the vampire race. After using it, you will possess the racial talent of the race. Remarks, this talent's breakthrough will last until you break through to the white platinum tier advanced grade. Zhou raised his eyebrows. This racial talent was not bad. This way, he could use the stored spare blood for the vampire skills when he used the blood bat form in the future. As long as the frequency of use was not too high and did not exceed his total reserve blood volume. There was no harm to him at all. After that, he extracted the other vampire's loot and placed it in his spatial ring. He thought for a moment and looked at Bai Yi. Bai Yi. Arrange for 2 teams to secretly monitor the territory of the Vampire Lord and the Baphomet Race Lord here. It's best to find out everything about them. He said. After the Novice Lord test ended, the Novice Lord's protective barrier would disappear. The competition for the title of Lord of all races would officially begin from then on. When the time comes, he would start with these 2 overlords first. Yes, my lord. Bai Yi did not ask further and went straight to make arrangements. Zhou watched her leave and his gaze returned to the 2 cat girls. What are your names? He asked. My name is Aliyah. The older cat girl said respectfully. My name is Atli. The younger cat girl immediately said. How do you feel about being sword-shield soldiers? Zhou nodded and asked. Don't worry, my lord. We're already used to fighting as sword-shield soldiers. Aliyah immediately said. We will become stronger if we don't use shields. Atli said. Aliyah hesitated, then nodded, too. Zhou was not surprised. This pair of catgirl sisters had talents in agility. They were not good at using strength. Giving up on the use of the shield was indeed beneficial to them. Actually, logically speaking, their best profession should be assassins. However, Zhou did not have a class change book related to the assassin class. Therefore, he could only arrange melee professions like sword-shield soldiers for them. But now, Zhou looked at them and had other thoughts. There will be a dojo in the territory in the next 2 days. At that time, the subjects can enter the dojo and change their profession to martial artists. When the time comes, the 2 of you can change your profession to martial artists. Zhou said. Martial artists had unlimited potential as a combat profession. Moreover, they should be able to obtain agility martial arts secret manuals in the future. It should suit the 2 of them. Yes, my lord. The 2 sisters said excitedly. They were quite satisfied with being sword-shield soldiers, but if they could become combat professions that was more suitable for them, the 2 of them were naturally very willing. Zhou Zhou acknowledged. Then, they saw Atli, the younger cat girl, who could not help but glance in the direction of the grilled fish. Her throat was even vaguely swallowing. Zhou Zhou could not help but laugh. "You two haven't eaten yet, right?" he asked. The elemental archer sisters and us have been assigned to patrol. It won't be our turn to eat until the shift changes." Atli was stunned for a moment before she said. At the same time, she looked at Zhou Zhou with desire. Aliyah lowered her head with a flushed face. This little sister of hers was really. Zhou Zhou smiled. Then, he turned around and brought over the plate of grilled fish meat and handed it to them. The two of them quickly took it. "You've done a good job killing the enemy. Consider this a reward for you. Take it back and eat them with the elves." Zhou Zhou said. "Thank you, my lord." The catgirl sisters' eyes lit up. How could the Lord be so good? They could not help but think. Then, they left excitedly with the grilled fish after bidding farewell to Zhou Zhou. Another half an hour passed. The soldiers returned to their peak combat strength. Seeing this, Zhou Zhou asked the soldiers to clean up the trash on the spot. Then, he led the soldiers towards the territory of the water demon Scarlet Lord, and see. Chapter 92 Killing the Water Demon Scarlet Lord. Mission completed. Water Demon Scarlet Lord, Ansis Territory. The Water Demon Lake. This was an artificial lake that was 2 to 3 times larger than the Purple Scale Lake. The lake was extremely calm, like lifeless stagnant water. Zhou Zhou stood on a hill in the distance and looked at the Water Demon Lake from afar. He could not help but frown slightly. The lake was so big. Nazario probably could not replicate the burning of the entire Purple Scale Lake to destroy all the Purple Scale murderfishes. Let's see if we can provoke them out. Zhou Zhou thought for a moment. Then, he looked up at Nazario and conveyed his orders. After receiving Zhou Zhou's order, Nazario, which was in the air, swooned down. When it was still 50 to 60 meters away from the Water Demon Lake, it suddenly stopped its huge body. Then, it opened its dragon mouth and a red light brewed in it. Boxen OVL. COM the next second. Boom! The scorching magma dragon breath instantly spewed out and exploded into the Water Demon Lake below. Kill notifications appeared in front of Zhou Zhou one after another. Your pet lava dragon, Nazario, has killed a black iron tier elementary grade water demon. Promotion energy +2. Loots condensed. Your pet lava dragon, Nazario, has killed a black iron tier elementary grade water demon. Promotion energy +8. Loots condensed. Your pet lava dragon, Nazario, has killed the green bronze tier intermediate grade water demon leader. Promotion energy +40. Loots condensed. Your pet lava dragon, Nazario, has killed a white silver tier elementary grade water demon leader. Promotion energy +200. Loots condensed. In the dozens of kill notifications. A kill notification of a white silver tier elementary grade water demon leader came into view. Zhou Zhou was stunned. His original intention was to let Nazario kill some water demons and see if he could provoke the Water Demon Lord, and see, out. He did not expect it to kill a white silver tier elementary grade water demon leader directly. Zhou Zhou smiled. Even if it was a white silver tier advanced grade Scarlet Lord, watching a white silver tier elementary grade leader level subordinate of its being killed would probably make its heart ache, right? That was indeed the case. The next second. A furious roar from the soul seemed to resound in everyone's ears. Some soldiers who were not strong enough fainted under this furious roar. While the remaining soldiers did not faint, their faces suddenly turned pale and they looked a little dazed. Zhou Zhou had elementary grade mental potential, and his mental power far exceeded his peers. Therefore, he was not affected much. Soon, Dr. Zhang Qianjing ran over. "My lord. I went to take a look just now. I realized that the soldiers were only stunned. They suffered some mental damage, but it's not a big deal. They will be fine after resting for a while," he reported respectfully. "That's good. Take care of them," Zhou Zhou acknowledged. Then, he ordered Nazario to continue attacking. At the same time, he extended his right hand and aimed his palm at the water demon lake. He did not use his Black Iron Tier Lord Insight Defection talent to incite them to defect and facing the first two Scarlet Lords previously. At this moment, it was activated. Boom! An invisible fluctuation instantly covered the entire water demon lake. Under the water demon lake, more than 3,000 monsters that were half ox and half horse, covered in black fur and with two black horns on their heads, were wandering silently under the water. They were the water demon subjects under the water demon Scarlet Lord. They had also seen the scene of the magma dragon breath in the distance killing dozens of water demon. However, they were not sad looking at their dead companion. Their eyes were empty and cold. They only have biological instincts and feel a little emotional. They escaped from the place where the magma dragon breath had spewed out in fear. At this moment, an invisible fluctuation instantly spread. Some of the water demons immediately froze. When they came back to their senses, their eyes quietly became lively. "My lord," they said in a dry and unfamiliar voice. In the deepest part of the lake, and see, the water demon stood there quietly. Around it were 3 white silver-tier elementary grade water demon leaders. There were originally 4 of them. However, there were only 3 of them left after one of them died after the magma dragon breath just now. It was also because it had witnessed that scene with its own eyes, that in see the water demon Scarlet Lord realized deeply that the terrifying attack coming from above the lake was definitely not something it could withstand. Therefore, it did not want to go out at all. It did not care about the deaths of the water demon subjects at all as long as it and its 3 most important subjects were alive. With the 3 of them around, it could make a comeback before long even if it suffered heavy losses today. At this moment, an invisible fluctuation instantly swept past. The water demon Scarlet Lord and Sea did not react. However, the 3 top-notch water demon subordinates beside it suddenly froze. Then, they looked at each other. They all understood each other's identity. At this moment, they were not only top-notch water demons but also top-notch spies. When they looked at the water demon Scarlet Lord and Sea again, their eyes were no longer as respectful as before. However, they did not act rashly. Instead, they silently sent a message to Zhou Zhou and told their lord the location of this water demon Scarlet Lord. On the shore. Zhou Zhou looked at the notification in front of him. Prompt: you have activated your lord's exclusive talent, Insight Defection. Insight Defection has taken effect. Lord Talent Hint: a total of 21 Black Iron Tier Elementary Grade Water Demons, 15 Black Iron Tier Intermediate Grade Water Demons, 12 Black Iron Tier Advanced Grade Water Demon Elites, 10 Green Bronze Tier Elementary Grade Water Demon Leaders, 6 Green Bronze Tier Intermediate Grade Water Demon Leaders, and 3 White Silver Tier Elementary Grade Water Demon Leaders have betrayed their lord's faction and become your loyal subordinates. Zhou Zhou looked at the lord's talent notification in front of him in a daze. He could not believe his eyes. What kind of luck did he have today? First, he accidentally killed a white silver tier elementary grade water demon leader. Then, he instigated the opposing 3 white silver tier elementary grade water demon leaders to defect. After he received the news from the 3 of them, Zhou Zhou realized that this water demon Scarlet Lord was already surrounded by moles. Zhou Zhou exclaimed in awe. He suddenly pitied the water demon Scarlet Lord. It was too unlucky. Then, he told Nazario the location of the water demon Scarlet Lord without hesitation. After Nazario knew the location, it directly turned the direction of its dragon breath and attacked Nsi, the water demon's Scarlet Lord. Under the lake. When Nsi saw the magma dragon breath suddenly change direction and rush towards it, it was stunned. Then, it hurriedly called out to its 3 good brothers and quickly swam into the distance. The 3 water demon good brothers told the water demon Scarlet Lord to run in the water demon's language, showing their loyalty. They kept reporting its latest location to Zhou. Therefore, the water demon Scarlet Lord panicked. Why was this attack following it wherever it went? Could it be that the fellow above the lake was actually so terrifying? The enemy could still sense its location even though it had already dived so deep. Soon. Nsi, the water demon Scarlet Lord, tried to dodge the attack of the magma dragon breath again but failed to dodge, and was directly covered by it. A soul-shattering scream appeared in the minds of every soldier on the shore again. The other party's screams gradually quietened down after more than 10 seconds. A kill notification appeared. Your pet lava dragon, Nazario, has killed Nsi, the water demon Scarlet Lord. Promotion energy plus 800. Loots condensed. The territory of the Scarlet Lord has become ownerless. You can plunder or occupy it. Prompt. Mission, eliminate the Scarlet Lords has been completed. Mission reward, 300 yellow gold tier mist cores and 10 yellow gold tier aurora crystals have been issued. Prompt 1, 200 Fish Spring Town residents will submit to your territory tomorrow. Prompt 2, your reputation in the Aurora Kingdom has increased to a certain extent. When you recruit talents from the Aurora Kingdom, you have a higher chance of success. Prompt 3, the King of the Aurora Kingdom will hear of your achievements soon. His favorability towards you has increased, and he will open the right to trade Aurora crystals to you. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.